It's DTK Dallas Tour Keepers on this 9th day of December in 2023. Thank you for joining us wherever you may be. May Yahuwah bless you. So, real quick lesson today, like to direct your attention to the title, The Great Reception, and asking you the question, who are you married to? And many of you gonna pull out your marriage license and say, I'm married to Tina, I'm married to Lee, I'm married to this, that person that's there. Obviously, yes, that's who, hopefully and prayerfully, that's who the Most High has joined you with. So today is going to be centered around that idea, the unity, the marriage, the institution, but also that great reception that we've been promised to be part of going forward. So real quick, I know I didn't put in anybody to like do a word study, but there's going to be a couple of words that we're going to look up. I might shift off of the slide for a bit just to pull those on the screen so you can see those. If you have access to Strong's references and different things of that nature, where you can like look at the Hebraic letters, prepare yourself a bit for that. Not gonna spend a ton of time on it, but I just wanted to bring forth some nuggets about those things. So like I'm asking you here, did you know that one of the Hebrew words for marriage equates to take, to the word take? I find that quite interesting. So when you're saying your wedding vows, you said you take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband. Is this who you're married to? I'm not married to Cicely, so I'm gonna say no.
Absolutely not.
And you notice I put it's funny, as part of the thing, they say lawfully, but obviously they talk about the law of man. But in the law of Torah, it this ain't the one, right? This ain't the one. He ain't go around doing these things that they listed out right here. So I thought that would be kind of interesting. So that word take, and there's a couple of other ones, but I specifically found this one because of what we're going to be talking about today. And this is another question I'm asking while we're getting into this. You know, I like to throw a couple of things on there so your eyes can start looking around. But who chose who for marriage, right? You know, that's something that, like, I think it's quite important to get into that. The answer's down at the bottom there. One of the answers, right? John 15:19, he said, if you were of the world would love his own, meaning the world would take you in and take care of you. But the world ain't doing it. If you really take inventory of your life and you look around, you think, and you ask yourself, like, I'm saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, or you're saying, you know, I'm awakened, right? With hopefully in those declarations, what you're actually saying is, you're saying, I'm not of the world, right? So the rest of the scripture said, but because you are not of this world or the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. So you got to remember that. So he's saying he chose us, right? I think we used to sing a song that says, because he loved me first, or because he, you know, called me first, something like that, right? But that's the idea. The word for take that we're going to get into is going to be this one here that's spelled with lamed, quaf, and chet. So it's laquash. And so we could, if you think we got the time, happy to see if somebody got a quick breakdown of what they think the word take means and how you would get marriage out of that, being married, the idea of marrying a wife. This screen capture I got, it came from what's that? I just put up there, the etymological dictionary, the Hebraic dictionary. And so I took a screen capture out of there. Notice that but you know, it's the same word that we're looking at, you know, lamed, quaf, and chet. And they're saying it means to receive or to take. And then as you look down through there, the first one is receiving. And, you know, they give you some, you can come back, we can go back and look at these another time, but we're focusing on the third definition, which is marrying a wife. And notice it's in Genesis. So we're gonna kind of be in Genesis a good little bit today. Well, we're gonna graduate from that. But the whole thing is answering the question, who are you married to, right? You know, and we're gonna, hopefully you know who that is. If not, we're gonna really kind of dive into that some more today to prove who you should be married to. And if you're not, you need to prepare yourself, right? So to get this going, like I said, we're going to be in Genesis a good bit. We're going to start at Genesis 1 in the 26th and 27th chapter. And we're going to key in on specific words created. And then we're going to also key in later on another word, formed. And we can even key in on the word make, because those all have a relationship. And I wanted to take this time to make sure you understood that relationship. So Genesis 1, 26 and 27 says, and Elohim said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Let him have dominion over the fish of the sea, fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So Elohim created man in his own image. In the image of Elohim created he him, male and female, he created them. Okay, so what I wanted to bring here before we go to the other word that you see popped up there, when you think about making something, like if I asked Gina, hey, can you make some brew cakes? All right. And I said, I want them for next Shabbat that we get together, right? So you might get with, I don't know, yourself or whatever and say, I'm gonna make some brew cakes. So when you do that, when you said that, are the brew cakes there? Right? They're not. They haven't been manifested. You decided, and I said, well, can you do something special with them? You know, add something special to them. Maybe you add cinnamon or something. I don't know, right? So in your mind, as you start deciding to make it, you start creating the recipe in your mind. You're like, oh, you know, I'm gonna add this. I'm gonna use a different flour this time, so that you are now doing what you would consider like a blueprint for those brew cakes, like with the recipe, like exactly what you're gonna do. I'm gonna use more butter. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. So you're literally designing exactly how you're gonna do that thing, and that's all part of the process to make those brew cakes. Follow me? Good. Okay. Then finally, this is where, as they say, when the rubber meets the road, Second Genesis and 7 says, and Yahuwah Elohim formed the man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living soul. So now the brew cakes is in my hand. Now I can, you put them in the skillet, is the forming process. Once they're formed, it's done. Like that's what it is. So if I go back and forth a little bit here, when was Eve created? Anybody?
After Adam?
After Adam? That's
after the man.
So I said created.
So she
Really with him. She was just inside of him.
At the same time.
There.
At the same time. Like one of the lines from my favorite song. At the same time, Eve or Chua was created when Adam was created, because he says it right here. It says, in the image of Elohim created he him, male and female created he them. Right now, don't get triggered, because this is like people gonna be tripping and trying to use that pronoun stuff that they're doing today. That's not what this is saying. This is just letting you know the plurality of man was created in his blueprints. They hadn't been formed yet. Adam hadn't been formed yet either. Eve hadn't been formed yet. They were a concept in the mind of the Most High, because he said, I created them in my image. So like it went from likeness, what it looked like, to what the image is going to be, right? But more importantly, he created them both at the same time, created. And people kind of get triggered. I think they go like, well, you know, like you answer that way because we want to make sure that we pay homage to what the scriptures tell us about the vessels, the difference between the vessels. But the vessels ain't created yet. They're in his mind. And as we all know, he could have just spoke us into existence, right? He could have just said, let there be man. But he did not do that. He said he formed man from the dust of the ground. And so he touched us. He breathed into us. He did all those things. And I wanted you to catch something, because it's coming up next. So how did he do that? Like how? It tells you he did what? He used what to make man? It's right there, you know.
The dust, the dirt.
Yep.
And then he breathed his spirit into that form.
Right. So as we go through this, let me see, because since I'm doing this slideshow, which I maybe should just turn the slideshow off, but I want us to read through Genesis 2, okay? And some of the stuff I'm trying to ask you, like I want you to think about when you see the word take. And I've done some research. If you want to go ahead and use your Strongs to confirm what I'm telling you, meaning when you see that word take, Laquash, is it the same word here? And the answer is yes. I looked it up. That's why I'm kind of like here. So the word take is also marriage, or can be, right? So as we read Genesis 2, when we get to this part where he talks about like how and where things coming from, pay very close attention to when that word is used. And I will remind you like, hey, yeah, that word is used here. So I'm going to attempt to go ahead and read Genesis 2 and 1 on through. We're going to read the whole thing, but we're going to kind of stop down. And if you got some questions, interrupt and say, you know, excuse me, I don't understand that or whatever, because I want to make sure we're catching what I'm saying. So, you know, Adam and Chua were created at the same time, formed at a different time, and formed in different ways. Okay. So it says, thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, Elohim ended his work which he had made. Now, see, you see these differences in these words? So made is the whole thing. Creating is in your inner. So it's in his inner. And then forming is, you know, he can form or he can speak something into existence. So he's rested on the seventh day, right? And then verse 3 says, and Elohim blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which Elohim created and made. See how they had to say separate, created and made. So he rested from creating, thinking about the blueprint, designing man, and any other thing that he designed. That's what he did in that moment. He's resting from that, from thinking it out and designing it and actually doing it, getting it to be made manifest, where you can see it, touch it, taste it, smell it, you know, all those things, right? Then 4 says that these are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created. Same word. In that day, in the day that Yahuwah Elohim made the earth and the heavens, and every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb in the field before it grew. See, that you can tell what I'm saying. I'm not making it up, because the scriptures like bearing witness to that. It's like he's saying before. For Yahuwah Elohim had not caused it to rain on the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. So he had a problem. And then he also already came up with the solution. But there went up a mist from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. And Yahuwah Elohim formed the man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils a breath of life, and the man became a living being. That's what we were just looking at, right? 7. And Yahuwah planted a garden eastward in Eden. So again, touching things, creating something that wasn't there. There was no garden until 8. And there he put the man whom he had formed. So now the garden's there. The solution for tilling it, as it says, to till the ground, has now been placed in there. Okay. And again, hopefully get your eye detectors on and look for that word took or take, right? And out of the ground made Elohim to grow every tree that is pleasant in sight and good for food, a tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from this it was parted and became 4 heads. The name of the first is Pishon, that is which encompasses the whole land of Chavala, where there is gold, and the gold that is good. There is bdellium and the onyx stone. And the name of the second river is Gishon. The same is it that encompasses the whole land of Cush. And the name of the third river is Shikadel, that is which goes toward east of Ashur, and the fourth is Parath. 15. And Yahuwah Elohim took the man and put him into the garden of Eden to dress it and guard it. Did y'all catch took? And Yahuwah took the man and put him into the garden of Eden to dress it and guard it. And Yahuwah, let's keep going, because I think maybe you're starting to see what I'm trying to say here. What is going on? Why is this? So, and Yahuwah commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may eat, you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you should not eat it. For in that day that you eat thereof, you shall surely die. Is anybody catching a chronology here? He's given the command, but where is Chua? It's not a trick question.
She hasn't been formed yet, right? But okay.
I was gonna say she's with him, but she hasn't been formed yet.
Right.
So the wholeness of Adam is beholding and hearing the command of the Most High. He's telling them, because remember it said he created them, but she hasn't been formed. But then she's also the one that supposedly is, or not supposedly, the one that gets deceived in the garden, right? If you were trying to be a tactician as a deceiver, what would you do? Which one would you pick? Pick the one that's a little more weight around the ears, right? Behind the ears, as they say. It's like, yeah, she was a concept, but not.
She wasn't hearing the instructions yet.
Correct.
Did you say that?
That's what I'm kind of getting at.
Okay.
And so then we say, and there's a very strong reason why, like I stopped down on 15 for you to catch the word took. And if it means like a marriage, right? Okay, so Yahuwah Elohim took the man and put him in the garden. So he took him. Now you're gonna say, oh, that's a man, that's not a wife. It's like, is it? Or is it not? And we're gonna go through this, and we're gonna let the scriptures bear witness to this, whether this is folly or whether this is truth. Because I don't want it to be my thoughts. I want it to be what does the word say, right? So he told him exactly. So the truth is in 17. He's literally saying, this is what will happen if you eat of the tree. Did he say anything about touching it? No, he didn't say none of that stuff like that, right? But he did. He just said what he said. If you eat from it, you're gonna die. 18. And Yahuwah Elohim said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helpmeet for him. So now it's like he's saying, got a secondary thing that I need to get into. Thank you. I got a secondary meaning there's another problem, but who noticed the problem? Adam didn't come to Yahuwah and say, man, I need somebody. It just is right here that Yahuwah said it's not good that man should be alone. And y'all know how I am. My curiosities take me places, me and my wife. In fact, so just last night, that word alone is not the way you think. So when we look this up, I think the word is like bod, something like that, right? It's like bod for alone. When you look at what it means to be separate from, to be separated. So what he's saying in Hebrew is it's not good for man to be separate. So think about that. Wait, I've been taught my whole time that like Eve is just like inside him, like he's got two souls floating inside his body, and that's what it is. And so then if Hebraically it means alone means to be separate, and he says, I'm gonna make you a helpmeet. He said he's using the same phrasing that he used when he talked about making man, the wholeness of man. He says, I'm gonna go make this, and now I've created them both in my mind. So he don't have to go back to the drawing board and create Eve. She's already been created in his mind. He already has the blueprints for her. You follow me still? Okay. So let's keep going. We're at 19. And out of the ground, Yahuwah Elohim formed every beast of the field, a fowl of the air, and brought them unto the man to see what he would call them. And whatsoever the man called every living creature, that was the name thereof. So still no Eve naming things, right? Having dominion over stuff, doing the work, solving the first problem, which was there's no man to till the ground, to dress and keep the garden. So he's doing that. She ain't there yet. So he's doing all the house chores by herself. So 20 says, and the man gave names to all the cattle, fowl of the air, and the beasts of the field. But for man, there was not found a helpmeet for him. Who already said he was going to make one. So now Adam is recognizing the problem also. I need help. I can't do this by myself. He realizes he's separate from something, meaning I'm one part of the blueprint. The other part of the blueprint has not come off of the fabrication. It ain't been made yet. It hasn't, the Most High did not print her yet. She's not here yet. So he knows something's up, because it's like everything else you made, there was this pattern where there was like two, this and that, this and that. And I'm naming them. This is the, the female cow is called a heifer, and male, like just think about it like that. He's doing that. And then this is going like, I see two cows. One is made this way and the other's made that way. When they come together, they're able to reproduce. So he's noticing the problem there. 21. And Yahuwah Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and he slept and took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which Yahuwah Elohim had taken from man made he a woman and brought her unto the man. Y'all, I got to drop this heavy thing on you. I'm sorry to do this, but I got to do it. When you go look up the word for rib, y'all, that's not the only translation for it. One of the translations for rib there is actually side. Side. And you're probably going like, okay, big deal. No, it's a big deal, because if someone just decided to translate it to rib and have you in your mind think that that Eve literally came from a physical, which is possible. I'm not saying, but what if it's not? What if it's not a rib? What if it's a side of him? Not half of the man, but a side. And what I'm going to explain to you, I'm not talking about like his left side or his right side. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you met your husband or your wife. When you first met them, you saw their best side, or the side that they wanted to show you, right? I can cook, I can clean, I can do all this, I can do all that. I'm showing you that side. But then when you get on my bad side, I'm gonna show you my bad side. So let's read this and just insert that translation. Okay, because it's there. You could go look that up. I'm not making this stuff up. You can go, and that's why I said before I got started to take a look at your Strongs if you needed to confirm that what I'm saying is not folly. Okay. So going back to 21. And Yahuwah Elohim, huh?
Can I say something?
Please,
It
yes.
actually says I'm stuck on the side chambers or cells
This is
of
so
a
good.
temple
All those
structure.
things.
So yeah.
Because the way the Most High do things, he says his ways are above our ways, like as far as the earth is from the Shamayim, right? And so when you think about that, just this little bit of thing that I'm adding still might not all the way be there. But there is lots and lots of logic to this when you think about this, okay? And I'm not leaning to my own understanding. This is what the scriptures is saying. So think about this. So he caused the man, he put the man into a deep sleep. I'm gonna come back to that later because you gotta wait. You gotta awaken to get married to him. Woo, come on. Anyway, so he put him in a deep sleep, right? And he slept. And he took one of his ribs, he took one of his sides, right? You know, let's, if we're being honest, we talk about this all the time. We say stuff like, you know, tap into your feminine side, tap into your masculine side. And that's just, we're talking about gender there, right? And that's the way the Western mentality is. They define genders by doing that, by saying that's masculine, that's feminine, and that's your own opinion. But like a good example is men that cook. For the longest, I was ridiculed for cooking. Like, oh, that's what women do. That's a female thing. But when I look at the scriptures, I see many times where the man is the one that's dressing the animal and cooking it. And when you look over at our last location, like in West Africa, most of the men do the seasoning and all that, or they do the cooking. They do the whole thing. It's not a feminine or a masculine thing. It's just what you're good at. But so back to this. He took one of his sides and closed up the flesh instead thereof. Now, you might go, oh, see, you're wrong, Tony, because it says he closed up the flesh thereof, meaning he had to close the wound up after that. But that's not, let's keep reading and you'll see what it says. He says, and the side which Yahuwah had taken from man, he made a woman, and he brought her unto the man. Now, hold on. If he brought her to the man, that means they weren't in the same space per se. The woman's here. I mean, sorry, the man is here. He's asleep. Remember, he's asleep. And then he takes something from him. If we're take for a moment and not assume it's a physical thing that he just bleeding out or something like that, whatever, that he just took from him the feminine aspect of this creation.
The essence.
The essence. Go ahead, you can say, speak up. It's a discussion. She wanted to. She was talking about that. Go ahead, babe. I want you to do that. I need to leave my.
Go ahead, finish your thought.
I was. So that's powerful to me because what it means is you're not looking for a flesh thing. He already had designed her. What was missing? To get her all the way complete, he needed those parts out of that, out of Adam, those sides. Okay? I know y'all got something to say, so go ahead and say it. Or maybe you don't. So let's just keep going then.
No, it's good.
Because when I saw that, I was like, yo, that's got my mind spinning, you know, because it's a different way of understanding this. And remember, the way he made us, we weren't a living thing until he breathed life into us.
So I started thinking about like when it just came to me actually. So remember the man determines the sex of the child.
Mm-hmm.
So the woman has, like they tell you about the X and the Y chromosome, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the woman has what? Two what?
X's.
And the man has
An X and a Y. Okay. So he just took the X from him and kind of doubled down on the X.
and that's just the way the world explains it.
That's the way they explain it, the biology of it, the physical aspect of a being.
Right.
But when you're creating something, he don't go creating things out of nothing. He didn't create Adam out of nothing. He didn't speak us into existence. He created us and then he formed us. So he's going to do the same thing with her.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing is you need some of the same materials. What he already had.
What he already formed, he used that to form her as well.
Correct.
Because she was already created. I'm trying to separate the two words, the created and made.
Yeah.
So he created her in his mind and in his blueprint, and now he's actually forming her.
That's good. That's good. So we're going to keep on reading. Anybody got else that want to add to that? And did we have anybody join or waiting in the room? Nope. Okay. We're just checking, make sure we're good. Okay, so again, I was hoping somebody was gonna say, hey, that word's there, Tony, that word's there. Read 22 again. It says, and the side or the rib which Yahuwah Elohim had taken from man. So he joined, if you want to call it a marriage, I'm good with that. I think that's what it is. If you want to call it a union, you could call it that. I'm good with that as well. But translation is there. It does let us know that taken is that same word. So he took man from the ground, the dust, and then he took Eve from the man, or he made a union with them, an agreement, a marriage, right? Hey, earth, I'm going to take this and make this. Hey, Adam, still earth, but a formed difference, a design difference, like not even a prototype, but just this is his design. Like this is the ultimate thing. I want to make this, because he said when he made it, he said it was very good.
Well, the lamed in that word is the shepherd's staff.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what the shepherd's staff is used for. One of the other meanings of that shepherd's staff is also to teach. And one of the other words is also join or yoke.
Woo!
So
there it is right there. Say that again.
If you're teaching, when you teach, you also have to talk. So you're joining the words of your mouth to your ears. So that word continues to mean join together, whether if you're teaching, whether if you're leading, you're still leading or to try to join the people that you're leading to something.
Mm-hmm.
It's a connection. So that's how you're connecting something.
And that's what we're going to get when we get down to 24, cleaving into the woman, right? That's a joining, right? Meaning, so, no, son, out. Okay. All right. So he brought her to him, right? And it, like, I add my little extra little things here sometimes because to make me laugh and understand it better. He's like, wake up. Here she is. I got something for you. Solve that problem. Oh, and then he wakes up and says, now remember, this is not the words of Yahuwah. This is the words of Adam, who is still in that mode of naming everything. Okay, so you got to remember that. So he wake up and he said at 23, and the man said, now this So this is now bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman. That's his title for her. She was taken out of man. That was his understanding. Because if somebody, I think the way I said this is if you spent most of your life being a certain way about something. Let's say you like getting on roller coasters your whole life as a kid. You just always have loved that. And then one night you go to sleep and you wake back up and all of a sudden you don't love that anymore. But the Most High took that out of you and put it in someone else. And you meet them and you start talking to them and it's like you need them to bring that love for that thing back to you. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. That's a side of you. That's a side of you. So he said that, and then therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and shall cleave unto his woman, and they shall be one flesh. They were both naked, the man and his woman. Some translations say his wife, because that's what that word is, and were not ashamed. They shouldn't be ashamed because they're married. Right? So like if you was they say shacking up, if you was shacking up before you got married, you had something to be ashamed of. It's like, is that your wife? Nah, that's my girlfriend. You know, you kind of, it's my girlfriend. It's my, the only thing that's good is when you say that's my betrothed, that's my fiance, right? That's the next best thing. But if you just, that's my girlfriend, or we chilling and we kicking it, you're gonna be ashamed. So they had no reason to be ashamed because they was married now. They was already, they were married. He married them individually and then he brought them together right there in 22 when he brought her to him. So I thought that was pretty powerful. We're going to skip on over to 3 and scroll down to 19. And we're going to just kind of hit on that right quick. We're going to read 19:23. You okay? Okay. It says, in the sweat of your face shall you eat bread till you return unto the ground. For out of it were you taken. For the dust you are, and unto dust shall you return. And Adam called his woman's name Chua, because she was the mother of all living. Unto Adam also and to his woman did Yahuwah Elohim, make coats, skin, and clothe them. And you know what this is. And Yahuwah Elohim said, behold, the man is become as one of us to know good and evil. And now lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. If you didn't catch that, we ain't been teaching you right. We ain't been giving you the information clear enough. My aunt has time and time again shown us that this tree of life is most likely Hamashiach in the garden, right?
Because then you would be saying that take forth his hand and join himself to the tree of life and live forever.
Right. Now, is that not
Somebody said?
Is that not what Hamashiach said? It was somebody posted something. He puts me in the mind of when we come to the truth, we are not to walk this walk alone, assemble ourselves. Yes, yeah. Yahuwah provides someone or people to walk with or be joined with because of us needing each other for encouragement, wise counsel, and so on. Yes, Hebrews 10:24-25. Very good. Yes. I was just like, that's like kaboom. So Yahuwah is saying, he now knows good from evil, right? Let's not right now, because we're in this state, we're being judged, okay? In the state of judgment, it's not time for you to walk in your eternal being. You've corrupted your body. He can't be with you no more. It's corrupted, right? So that's the reason why he says, let us, right? It says, behold, man has become one of us to knowing good and evil. And now let us and now, lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. So one would say, man, Most High don't want you to live forever. No, he don't want him to live forever right then, because he was in a state of corruption and fallenness. 23. Therefore, Yahuwah Elohim sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till ground from whence he was taken. Uh-oh, y'all. Did you catch that? So let's put this together. So Adam was made from the ground, but not just any ground, y'all. He was made from what ground? He said the ground outside of the garden. Remember, it says right here, therefore he sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from whence he was taken. Oh, right? So he was taken from the ground that was not the garden. He was made from the ordinary stuff. So he took something ordinary and made something extraordinary, right? And now he's being sent back to ordinary. Following me on this? I'm just like, oh, this is kind of crazy. I'm like, man.
So I have 1 John 3 came to mind when it says when he talked about does he put forth his hand and then take of the tree of life and live forever. So this is where
1 John 3 and what?
2.
Okay.
And because it says, beloved, now are we the sons of Elohim, and it does not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him.
Boom. Okay. You gonna keep reading? Oh, you got some more. Go ahead.
No, it was just that, and
Yeah.
we shall see him as he is.
Look, okay, so that connection, she just gave us 1 John 3 and 2, and it's saying, and for now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get the context of what that is, obviously that's Taladim speaking of Hamashiach, correct? So, but here in Genesis, it's saying, you know, that we're being sent back to an ordinary place. But then before that, he's like giving you the reasons. Like, look, now you know the difference between good and evil. Now you know, okay? So before we didn't know. And I think I brought this out before. Those trees were there for a reason. The timing was where it was off. That's what we believe, because he would not have banished us or even put a commandment out there to say, don't eat from this tree. You can eat from everything else, but don't eat from this one. So obviously it's a timing thing. Ultimately, we're supposed to know the good from evil so we can shun evil. Ultimately, we're supposed to walk and obey the Most High and marry ourselves or be married to Hamashiach, right? And then receive eternal life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it John 3:16? That's it, right? Anyway, so, but they take that wrong too. My point here is, or our point should be to look at, when did he marry us as a species? When did he marry us? He married Adam when he took him from the dirt. He says, you're ordinary. I got extraordinary plans for you. Boom. Then he formed it. And then he marries Eve, right? Because remember, Yasharal, y'all, we're men and women, right? So, like, if you're getting triggered as a man when the Most High says, I'm coming back for the assembly ain't all women. It's us in there too. So you might be kind of going like, well, how that's going to work? Man, then you're thinking about it too wrong. You're thinking about it in your flesh. You're thinking about it just like when Hamashiach be saying, like, talking about being born again, and the people was like, how I'm supposed to go back up inside the womb of my mother and come out again. It's like, come on, man, that's not what I'm talking about. Yeah, Nicodemus, thank you. So this is in the same way. We have to grasp this in a better way and understand that marriage is a unity. It's a joining together. It's actually, there's contracts involved, a ketubah. These things are in our culture. They didn't come from out of the blue air, from nowhere. They came from commandments. They came from what works. What's the Most High honoring? What is he not honoring? The judgments, right? That's how you know whether what you're doing is right and what you're doing is wrong. The judgment here is, I told you not to do this. You did it. So now you got to get out. You got to go back to where you came from. Right? Okay. Yeah. So, even if you got babies that's loud, I don't care. I want you to answer some of these questions. So, and you don't have to be married. Okay. Anybody can answer this. What are reasons to marry? Just start shooting them out. I'm writing them down, by the way.
I mean, companionship.
That's a good one.
How about not navigating this crazy world alone, you know?
So I'm going to say not being alone.
Yes.
For intimacy.
Huh?
For intimacy.
Intimacy. Good one.
Good one, Chris.
Anybody else? I mean, come on.
You mean like for like the right reasons or the wrong reasons?
It doesn't matter.
What are reasons to marry? I got a video I'm going to show everybody here in a minute.
Okay.
But I want you to just answer,
Some people get married for business purposes.
Okay.
Transactions.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, let's keep it real. Some people get married just to go back to scripture so they don't burn. You burning with lust one to another, and you want to
That's true too.
get that thing right?
Okay. Anybody else? I think y'all missing one of the ones you would kind of assume this one's there.
Friendship,
Love.
Boom, she said it.
love.
Okay. There was no right or wrong. I just wanted to hear somebody say love.
Good one.
Yeah, so love, right? So she said love. So I got companionship, not being alone, intimacy, business purposes, as a transaction, so they don't burn for scriptural reasons. I guess you could say insurance policies. Insurance policies, and then love. It's interesting.
Nation building.
Huh?
Nation building.
Nation building.
Because we had arranged marriages before, so wasn't no love in the equation.
True. So you're talking about procreation, basically. Be fruitful and multiply.
Mm-hmm.
There it is, commandment keeping.
All right, y'all. I'm gonna let me see. How do I want to do this? If I click on there, no, it's not. It didn't do what I wanted to do. So I'm going. Y'all let me know if you can still see the YouTube screen that I have up.
So far, yes.
Okay, cool. Let me know if you can hear too.
When did marriages become about love? For centuries, marriage was viewed as a practical arrangement between two families. So what changed to make love the basis for the institution of marriage? So a lot of people across the US have grown up thinking that love and marriage go together like a horse and carriage, but besides being the lyrics to the catchy opening theme song of Married with Children and a popular song by Frank Sinatra, I wanted to know, when did love become the primary rubric for choosing a life partner? Now, before we get started, I would like to point out a small disclaimer that this episode isn't intended as an endorsement of any particular type of marriage, or as a negation of the wonderful institution of love. Rather, I wanted to do some deeper research into how love matches became the ultimate sign of a healthy or strong marriage in the US, and when we started to see the shift from marriage as the joining of two lives based on choices of families and parents, to marriage as a choice driven by love at the center. Because even though love wasn't always considered the central criteria for getting married, today love is the key factor in how Americans choose to enter into marriage, with a recent study showing 88% of Americans listing it as a very important reason to enter into marriage, over the 81% who listed making a lifelong commitment as very important, the 76% who listed companionship as vital, 49% who thought having kids was key, and the 28% who thought financial stability ranked high marks. But as you can see from these numbers, many of these considerations, love, companionship, financial stability, overlap. So even if someone thinks love is key, that doesn't mean that they consider it to the exclusion of everything else.
So Isn't that cool how we like, I think we got like 3 of those, maybe 4, depending on how you look at it, that she listed. And those are statistics that they pulled, not just from well, this was from the US. These are from the US. So that's how people think about things here. And it's interesting that, you know, even though we're operating in an awakened state, we still have some of the same thought processes around it. Now, I'm sharing this not as fact. I'm sharing this because I want you to see the mindset of Western mentality and then ultimately Eastern mentality, which is really where we ought to be leaning in. We need to be leaning in that Eastern mentality. So also, you probably caught that she was really pandering. Like, I want to make sure that you don't. This is an endorsement for a specific type of marriage, even though this whole thing pretty much is all about a man and a woman getting married. That's what I thought. I found that kind of funny that she was trying to pander to that and kind of failed miserably. All right, let's keep looking.
So, to start off this week's topic, we should first ask ourselves, when did marriage start? And what were the primary rubrics for choosing a mate before love came into the mix? Well, if you haven't gotten a chance to watch our episode on the origins of the nuclear family, hint hint, here's a short recap on the marriage portion. Marriage is a custom that dates back thousands of years and is practiced in cultures the world over, and marriages have taken a variety of forms, including the arranged marriages sanctioned by parents, religious marriages, monogamous marriages, plural marriages, and marriages that involve licenses and other legal documents issued through the state or government. Also, since divorce and annulment were considerably less common until recently, either due to a lack of legal recourse or because of the social stigma, marriages often lasted longer, although that doesn't note whether they were more functional, happy, and harmonious unions. But according to Stephanie Coontz, author of Marriage, A History, the love match is a relatively recent phenomenon in Western marriage customs. She says that what marriage had in common was that it really was not about the relationship between the man and the woman. It was a way of getting in-laws, of making alliances, and expanding the family labor force.
So Lee said nation building. So look at what it said. It was back then, it was to expand the family labor force. Right? Get some work done. You need to have some kids, some children's, right? So we can have some people that go out there and tend to this livestock, tend to this garden that's out there, right? And so it wasn't about, like you said, it wasn't about love, like in the way we're thinking about it.
Happiness was based on your fulfillment of your purpose or your duties that you were assigned as a man or a woman in that particular family. That's so if you did that successfully, you were happy. That's where your happiness came from.
Yeah, I'll wait till you see the rest of this video.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
Okay, so I agree with both of you guys. I don't know if you guys ever watched the show Bridgerton on Netflix, but I know that with Queen Charlotte, when they did her series, I think she had an issue. She had to marry the king or whatever, but her brother had gotten into a dispute because I think at one point she was talking about her happiness, but he had to make her realize this is not about you being happy. This is about your duty, because it was something about bringing the two countries together. So yeah, it wasn't originally about your happiness. It was just what she had to do. You have to marry this person. You have to, bear children, and that's it. There was no love. You had to learn to love him. So yeah.
Right. That's a good example. Like going down to royalty, modern royal families. You can think about was it Prince William and the lady he married recently, that lady that was mixed. You notice how that's not working right now. Like they're trying to do books and trying to
Meghan Markle.
Thank you. And so I'm not saying it's not going to work ever. I'm just saying they're having some problems. And some of them problems have to do with that marriage was not arranged. He went out and kind of found her and like, hey, girl, what's up? You want to be a royal? She's like, I don't know, maybe. And then she finally said yes. I'm looking at her because like, you want to be royal? You already royal.
We're already royalty. Right on.
The funny thing in that, before I finish, the funny thing in that comment that I was making is, she probably was more royal than all of them because of maybe somebody that down in the bloodline. You know, yeah, if you know what I mean by that. I'll just leave it at that.
So, not exactly hearts, roses, red boxes of chocolates, and warm, fuzzy feelings, but it brings us to our next question. When did love start being considered the primary reason for marriage? Well, according to Dr. Aparajita Jirigunta's blog, some of that has to do with marriage laws and property rights. In early marriages and societies that established property laws through children, Jirigunta notes that monogamous marriages were a way of legitimizing children, with men claiming their offspring and wives as part of their household and property. Charming, really. This ensured that any family wealth passed down accordingly, but starting in the 10th century in Europe, the concept of consent in marriage became more vital, with the idea that unions between two consenting parties should be approved by a religious body and before God. So love before the union began wasn't considered the only focus, but consent and family approval often were. And
what? The family has to approve? What?
Wow.
What?
Wow.
Okay. Just saying, you know, how far we have removed from that, because
Today's society
ain't like, it's like
Yes.
have to approve of your mate.
yeah.
This is my happiness, not y'all. Y'all not gonna live with this person. This is my person.
I need to be in love with him.
And I confess, I said that. I said something similar.
I can say this now for men, from a man's perspective. For young men, that's going to be a hard pie to sell if they're in the world. But if they are in righteousness, it may not be as hard as you think.
You're right, you're right. I just thought that was funny. I mean, and here's what I don't know if you caught that. That was like an Indian lady that probably ain't ain't awakened in that way, is spouting off truisms that are based out of scripture. So, wow, right? Wow, that's all I have to say. Somebody said something in the chat. Let's see. Con, yeah. All right.
And the idea of a married couple growing to love each other or providing companionship after years in a relationship wasn't so outside of the cultural imagination. It was just viewed as a potential part of married life, rather than as a prerequisite for getting hitched. But throughout history, people have gotten married for a variety of reasons, and love was sometimes one of them. However, it wasn't such a common practice in the West that it became a well-known truism. That didn't start until the 18th century, when the idea of marriages based on romance as an ideal started to slowly emerge. And this trend continued into the 19th century, because businesses and factories weren't the only thing that the Industrial Revolution, revolutionized. As people began to move away from family areas and into more densely populated cities, we saw the rise of Enlightenment era ideals that focused on individuality and the happiness of the individual. As a result,
Did you catch individualism? And they call it the Enlightenment era. What do you mean enlightened to, right?
The snake then got into the garden and separated you again.
Exactly. And it literally said, as they started moving out of the rural areas and into the urban areas to get them jobs, to get that money. Think about this. You had everything you needed in the country. Okay? If you know what I'm saying, you was growing your own food, killing your own, dressing your own food, right? You knew your neighbors. In fact, those was the people that you was probably trying to make sure your sons and your daughters was getting with. We moved away from that to go get them jobs in the factory. And that all happened because of the Industrial Revolution. So every time, and where are they talking about this happening? Here in the US. It's always about money. Money for this country, because it's so rooted in capitalism, destroys everything else at the cost of that. So in order for this country to get wealthy, slavery was legal for a long time. Free labor. Since you ain't got to pay for it, whatever you sell is pretty much all 100% profit for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Then as you get out of that, it's an industrial revolution where we're like, oh, we're going to build these big cities and have factories and people can come and work there. Okay, now this is after we're emancipated. So we go there. Chicago, the different major cities. This is where those hubs of industrialism were. This is where we were trying to earn a living, all that kind of stuff. I see, Colin, go ahead.
What's interesting is like now that the world is kind of using this way of thinking or this way of moving is that's probably why we have like feminism and stuff because like they think, oh, we don't need no man, and the men are like, oh, we don't need no woman, and now it's like even harder to even find that right one or that one that you believe is the right one, you know, especially being in the truth. You know, it seems like, oh, they say, oh, just go 50-50. I got my money, you got your money, you know, and it's pretty much a house divided because they're in this individual mindset, like how this is kind of portraying. That's kind of what I'm getting out of it. But what's sad is that, you know, some of our own people do that same thing. So
that's a good catch.
Quick question for Mitch, because before I forget this thought, is we talk about Eastern and Western mindset a lot, but do you have to move to the East to have an Eastern mindset? That's my question.
No.
Right. So just because we're in the West don't mean we have to have a Western mindset. Also, in the reverse of that, just because you move to Africa don't mean you're going to have an Eastern mindset.
Boom. So you use the word mindset. It means you have to establish something in your head, in your way of thinking, that needs to change or be deeper rooted in the truth. So to have a mindset at all, you have to receive a belief and believe it and have faith in it and trust it, and then you start doing it. So if you're raised in the city and you're told, hey, you know, this is what you got to go do. You gotta go through school, get good grades, and if your family can afford it, you go off to college, and then after college, then you go find this great paying job, and then you can start deciding to start a family. When they say start a family, that includes marriage and having children, right? Because if we go back, you notice one of the reasons they listed was some people say to have children, and some people think that that's building a family. It is in the physical, but it's not necessarily if both parents are always gone and at work. That means that child or those children are being raised by that institution that you have them in. So that mindset that he's talking about is all of a sudden not just in your head, it's like what you're doing. So you can be in the land of captivity and have the mindset of a free person, right? And live free. So he who the Son sets free is free indeed. So it doesn't say where you are, be anywhere. But in your spirit, you have to be in him. So
it's really a beautiful thought process because so many of our people think they're free and they're in bondage. And talking about this makes me think about these holidays. Like I see people already, you know, the Christmas trees up and they're shopping and everything, and realizing that is really bondage to think that this one day I'm supposed to go all out, decorate, spend all this money, and we sitting back at home chilling like, we've been doing this all year anyway with our feast days and, you know, loving and giving to each other, you know, to put it their way, giving people their roses while they're alive. So it really makes you think deeper and look at the other parts of as you know, you said the construct, because now I'm always thinking about the construct. It's a trip.
It is. You had something?
Yeah, I was gonna say when I watched this, when he brought me this video to watch a few nights ago, what really hit home for me is the individuality. Because, you know, we think that we should be thinking like we're two individuals, but what you really have to think about is there's a common goal in the marriage. And if you start to think that, oh, I'm an individual in a marriage, then you're wrong. Because you should be coming together as two people, not two individuals, but you should be trying to come together as a unit join together, as that word says, is taken, coming together, be joined together, be yoked together, and not as an individual.
Yeah.
Yeah, listening to what Katina's saying makes me think about a house divided against itself. Because if you don't have a common goal, you really are divided. You each have your own goals and desires and wishes, and those,
Yes.
you're not on the same page.
Right. You're right. When you
Based on what I said in the beginning of the lesson, then, so the Most High has already spoken it into creation. Now, are you going to obey it and form it?
Yes.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's what I'm gonna get to that also a little later, but that's exactly where this is going. It's not like this is a secret. It's like, oh, this is secret information. You know, nobody know about marriages in the scriptures. It's not that. It's about, like I said, it's a salt and pepper lesson. So it's the best. Sometimes that's the best seasoning. In this situation, I believe it is. We make marriage so complex a lot of times when it's really not. All you got to do is look at the blueprint that the Most High has put in his scriptures and showing you time over and time again. Like, even if you're single and you don't have a wife or a husband, like in the flesh, the mentality, this mentality, I'm gonna finish this. It's not a real long, we've got a couple more minutes, but this individual thought process, you're gonna see how it creeps in and how it now it's proliferated itself completely. Like, literally, you have whole podcasts, whole news articles, whole books, and whole book store sections devoted to how to help yourself, and in that, like, how to find happiness, right? And the Most High said he's the one to make us glad. He's the one that will make you glad. But we don't trust that. We think that, oh, I'm miserable now, so he must have forgot about me. So I need to go out here and chase a bag. I need to go and present myself a certain way so I can be seen and received, when that's a big old giant fat lie. So let's watch a little more of this. Really interesting stuff. If it starts back up.
Europe and the US, some folks were picking their own partners for the first time rather than relying on or considering the larger family structure. So with people moving away from the influence and protection of their parents' households in order to make livings in large cities, all of this newfangled Enlightenment talk about the individual as opposed to the group or collective is theorized to have impacted marriage trends, which was followed by similar trends throughout the Romantic era that centered inspiration, strong emotion, and the individual instinct.
Rome is still here. Rome is still here because this is now you heard it, right? Don't forget, when you hear romantic, that's talking about Rome. That's talking about all those Roman gods that are geared towards, like, excess and, sexuality, enjoying yourself, that kind of stuff, right? All of those things, that's what they mean when they say this is the romantic period. This is when you would, like, when you think about the story of Romeo and Juliet, one of the strange, funny things about that story is what? The families did not agree with that union. But we romanticize that story because this is what they'll say: through all the odds, they still were together. But if you know how that story ends,
I was gonna say nothing was romantic about that story. They died. They killed
but see,
themselves.
they died for love. They died
right.
for love.
Okay,
exactly. So if you want to present yourself as a suitable husband or a suitable wife, you need to do some things. You need to change some stuff. But see, this was all about, I loved how I said it. This was the first time in the history for these people to start picking their mate. So you got to understand, when you're in a system that says mama and daddy and uncle and grandmama and granddaddy and all of them people, they're going to find somebody for me. That means you love them and you trust your family, right? To the point where you're saying they know me and that other family know them. So whoever they bring in me, I trust them. It's gonna work out. It's gonna be, and even if I start out kind of not liking that person, I can grow to love them in a way that you know, I didn't understand, because as they begin to show me their other sides, I'm gonna fall in love with that, because I'm gonna realize, like, dang, I missed that. I don't have that in me, right? Or this guy he's really gonna protect me. I didn't know I needed that. I thought since I grew up as a tomboy, I was gonna be fine when I got out here in these streets and trying to do things on my own. So
Might it be why the divorce rate is so high now in this culture?
because of choice. So you
Yes.
get to that a little bit and talk about that, like divorce rates, do they prove that the marriage didn't work, or did it prove that the person didn't have? I'm sorry. Let me stop, because I'm getting to let me let the video keep going. Hold on.
As a result, during the 19th century, in areas and countries such as Europe, the US, and Australia, we started to see the rise in the love match, and not just as words associated with tennis, which wasn't as long ago as we might originally think. But this perspective isn't universal. For example, a contemporary study of populations' attitudes towards marriage in India, Pakistan, Thailand, Mexico, Brazil, Japan, Hong Kong, the Philippines, Australia, England, and the United States by Robert Levine et al. Found that love isn't considered the #1 factor in choosing a life partner in some contemporary Eastern cultures, whereas it ranked as the highest consideration in the West. And arranged marriages aren't a relic of the past. They still exist widely across cultures, from Jewish and Hindu matchmakers to celebrity matchmakers with reality TV shows. So, how does it all add up? Well, even though marriages being chosen based on love is a relatively recent occurrence in some countries, such as in the US, it still doesn't remain the norm everywhere. And while there is evidence that suggests that love matches are more likely to end in divorce than marriages that are arranged, we should take both of these facts into careful consideration. Divorce rates alone cannot tell us about the happiness or functionality of certain relationships. So just because a marriage is passionate at the onset doesn't mean that it'll last forever or that it will fall apart. And a marriage born out of love can become dysfunctional or breed a love that lasts a lifetime. And although arranged marriages tend to last longer, Kuntz also notes that some arranged marriages can be coercive or oppressive if both parties aren't consenting. So while many people in marriages that are structured around family approval, long-term security, and shared values can lead to supportive and loving arrangements and long-term companionship, there are also instances of bad matches in these cases as well. So if love matches and arranged marriages both have their pluses and minuses, then where do lasting marriages come from? Well, this is a history show and not a love advice show, but it seems that early configurations of parties giving consent is the easiest formulation to see how to build a marriage with the potential to last. Marriages built around consent and not coercion, where all parties have shared goals, seems to be the real ideal here, whatever form your actual marriage contract may take. So, what do you think? Any evidence to weigh in on why or why not the rise of the love match happened in the US? Drop them below and see you next week.
All right, so reasons to marry. It like refreshes your mind a little bit to say, you know, if you know, I think mostly everybody on the call right now are, you know, married, right?
I'm sorry, did somebody say Katuba?
So you have a contract, you have prerequisites that can come either from the person being a person that's walking in righteousness and saying, I'm gonna find a mate like based off of that. But in that aspect, you're gonna have a mishpachah, you're gonna have a clan, you're gonna have a family, you're gonna have a support system of people that's like, you know what, I was watching that, and that brother ain't for you. Or, you know, vice versa, like that. I think you need to get at another shot. I think you're looking at that face value and that's wrong. You need to look at that brother and see what's up, right? Not gonna get into actual occurrences out of this assembly, but we have gone through some of that. We've gone through some of that and seeing when a person goes and finds somebody for themselves, that it ain't always gonna work out, right? You need to give people time to get to know that person, because here's the thing, this speaks directly to why we should be gathering. I think Ashaya was putting that in there earlier about the fact that when we stop gathering and when we stop fellowshipping and spending time with one another and getting to know each other, and not on a face value, but in depth, the things that make us cry, the things that make us laugh, the things that make us be motivated, the things that motivate us. Those real things that we share with one another qualify us to help each other through the marriages that we're in or the ones that we're considering. And that's for man and woman. So like let that sizzle for a minute. How can two walk together unless they gather? Some say to agree, but you got to be gathering. You got to, if I don't spend no time with you, I'm not going to know what it is you're into and the things that are your red flags that are really good, righteous red flags.
Hey, Tony.
Yes.
Also, you making me think, even to take it deeper, like, I will be honest, I had that individual mindset, but I think it benefited me and Lee because I don't know how to explain, like, we courted and we married really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I did tell him that I didn't want to tell anybody because I didn't want anyone to talk us out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
But okay, so then now having this conversation, the whole gathering aspect is also being set apart and separate. So now we're not, so I would say, so connected with members of our family who may still be living a secular lifestyle, or even in Christianity with the Western mindset, versus now being with a group of people who are allowing the Most High to reform and reshape their mindset. So the things that my mishpachah may see in an individual that I may be considering entering into a covenant with, what you guys are looking for is going to be totally different from what my family may be looking at, because my family may just be seeing, oh, he's got a nice job, a nice car, a nice house, and all the outside trappings, but not really looking at that inward man and trying to see what fruit they're producing in this walk. So it's so much deeper than just,
oh yeah, it's
that.
not.
Wow, it's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, you're absolutely like bringing forth one of the things I'm gonna show a little bit here later, not much later, but here in a little bit. You guys have a unique situation. Y'all came from the same state and city, right? And I know we always y'all make the joke about like y'all was on one side of the train track and the other side of the train track, but you were aware of the environment that you grew up in, and so even and I'm not trying to talk you can do your own testimony, but because we have fellowship for such a long time, I've heard and seen the story, right? And so, and that's one of the reasons why we still gather, right? And it's Lee would know what kind of woman he needs to provide for, because he's known you and known of you almost his whole life, right? And then kind of vice versa, right? And so you know about his family, he knows about yours, and I'm talking about your nuclear families that you came from.
That's right.
And so you know some stuff about each other. So that was already really there. So
It's true. It's true.
you get what I'm saying? And so
yeah,
and I won't go any further because you could tell more about the time in between that up until now, right? To this marriage. So some of the similar things can happen with us, except for us, we don't have grew up in the same city, even state, so we had to let some people, and when I started letting people in my family try to speak to whether or not it should be her, just being straight here with you, they was kind of like, I don't know, maybe you should pick the other one over there, because here's just because y'all look better together. I'm like, look better together.
What?
Like what? No, I didn't say that like that.
No, I understand.
But that's the
thought process.
feeling that I was getting when I was like saying, hey, I've been spending some time with this one. What do you think? Yeah, she's nice and da 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 da. But what about the other one? And it's like only because I met her before I met her. And I'm like, and then the flip of that is when I met her nuclear family, which is now all our family, right? They kind of they was trying me, right? They tried me. But so I had to pass the test. I had to be approved. And that was important for her. But I think, I don't know, you have to decide how much power are you going to give your family when it comes to, here we go, your love life. right? But it's not really about your love life, it's about your married life. And I
That's
think
right.
we put them together all the time, like the beginning of that video said, love and marriage go together like a horse and carriage, when that's really not the case. Like there's times when and I want to be very clear about this, because I'm gonna make a very big distinction. That's why I got this on the screen here, specifically that last one, and y'all should know 1 Corinthians 13:4. We've been spouting that heavy. But the type of love that you think of when you say, like, man, today, man, I ain't in love with my wife. And that's okay. It's like, well, wait, whoa, hold on. What kind of love are we talking about?
Yeah.
Are you talking about how your feelings, your what your flesh is saying? She burnt the toast and it's nasty, and she brewed the coffee too dark or whatever it was, and it's like, and I said that because it made me think about the Karen something white song, early in the morning.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm thinking about that, but it's like, but that song is about some dysfunction.
Mm-hmm.
And so we think through that and go like, oh, okay, so it's about, you got to fix that by finding the person you're in love with and then marrying them. And
Nope.
it's not, it's really, I need to find some people that know me and they know, and some people that know that other person. And for those people to sort of interact and say, hey, like, I see they want to go out. What you think? Well, Katina's this way. And then the guys are like, Tony's this way. You think that'll work?
No, you getting in my business. You in my love life.
I don't know. Right? But that's only if you trust. You can't walk together unless you're gathered. And that's true with your families, like our loved one families, I should say our relatives, to make the distinction here for the discussion, are in a different quadrant of our lives today than they were, say, like maybe 15, 20 years ago. Those people, those relatives were in a quadrant where it means like we trust them and we love them. Like what they say is gold, or depending on the relative, some of us we still couldn't stand. Right. But you knew where you stood with those folks. And so now it's a whole new batch. We've been together for 4 years, some of us a little more than that, as a mishpachah, and we've had to grow together, and some of us had to leave and come back, and some of us ain't came back, and some of us may not come back. I don't know. And there may be more of that. I don't know. But my point is, we're going to walk this thing out, and we're going to do everything in love. As I think it said, I think it's Peter. John has a scripture where it says, do everything in love. And I know that's kind of like out of context, but it's good. It's apropos for this. But the type of love that I have on the screen, you better not leave home without that. You better have a commandment type of love where, like at Mark, I'm going to read it. Mark 12:30-31 says, and you shall love Yahuwah Eloheka with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind, with all your strength. That's Deuteronomy, right? That's the Shema. This is the first commandment. And the second is like, namely this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is none other commandment greater than these. So they're like, oh, get rid of all the other ones. No, the other ones, then it says, you get into the whole thing about you can hang those upon them, right? But the point,
it's meaning
doing
that
those things
will help you
do the commandments that are in the Torah, right? So, and I said this kind of love. So back to what my ox said earlier, it's like, if you ain't walking in the righteousness, right, then that means you're not following this commandment. And if you're not following this commandment, it don't matter how many people in your family you got, they're gonna probably point you in the wrong place because you're unrighteous. You're not gonna yoke with anything but something else that's unrighteous. And then that's gonna breed more unrighteousness, and you're gonna have a dysfunctional family. Right? So if you want a functional family, like the lady was saying, the ones that last, it needs to be with the Most High. Says only what you do for you, right? For Yahusha, Hamashiach, will last. So if you get married to him first, you present yourself to him first, doing these things with all my heart, I love you. With all my being, I love you, right? And I love my neighbors, the ones that are next to me. We're neighbors, Miss Pakai. Even though we might live on different sides of town and in some instances in different states, we're still neighbors. A Mishpakai is a gathered together, called out assembly that gathers on the regular, that gets to know one another, that fellowships. And when you do that, you're doing the second. The second is the like, namely this, that you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Once we started praying for each other like that, wow, I cannot say this without almost like breaking down inside. I love y'all so much. You have like getting to know the problems and the triumphs that we've seen and gone through. Man, there's no love like that I had before this. And some will say, but that's your mom, that's your dad, that's your uncle, that's your grand. I was like, I'm not putting that down. I respect that and I honor that. However, this thing that he done did through me and to me, there's nothing like that. Nothing like that. And so that I won't throw that away for nothing. You can't get me to throw that away. So when you have that kind of love where it's following that commandment, you're going on proceed, whether you got the counsel or not, because Most High putting that together, right? He gonna put that together. He wants to see equally yoked individuals come together. When I say yoked, see, only righteous people agree with the ideal of yoking with someone. See, don't nobody want to be tied to somebody when you got this wild spirit that says, no, I want to live like a single person right now. I want to go out and party and do all of that. And then when you want to settle down, you ain't got that out your system. As soon as you get yoked, you can be like, but can we go do it? You bunk. Right? Remember that word bunk? You bunk.
No, he didn't.
Hey, whatever you know. Yeah. But see, I'm not bunked to her. Hallelujah.
No.
So
See, they laughing out. Darby said they laughing because that's exactly what that spirit is saying.
I can kick people out of the Zoom. I can do that. That's not a problem for me. I can do that. Now,
You can't kick your wife out the Zoom. She with you.
she in my office. I can get out. No, I'm just kidding. But what I'm saying is what's in you is what's in you, right? And until you use the grace that's there to walk through repentance to become the person that the Most High ordained for us to be, you're not going to be ready for any kind of commitment. You're just not. Not one like that, because you won't understand what endurance is about, right? Somebody read, I don't want to take it all up all the time. Somebody get John 15 on the screen there, 10 through 19. And it's talking about the obedience of love. And if you have it, just say con and give everybody enough time to get there. Again, that's John 15, and then you're going to go down and start at 10 and go to 19.
I got it.
I got it.
Oh, go ahead, Donna. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Deanna.
Okay. John 15, verses 10 through 19. If you guard my commands, you shall remain in my love, even as I have guarded my Father's commands and remain in his love. These words I have spoken to you, so that my joy might be in you, and that your joy might be complete. This is my command, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, that one should lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do whatever I command you. No longer do I call you servants, for a servant does not know what his master is doing. But I have called you friends, for all teachings which I have heard from my Father I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you.
Oh, it's going to 19.
Oh, no, you're good.
Can you hang on there? Because I wanted people to catch the fact that up at 12, actually 11, you know how we say we seeking happiness. Happiness and joy is the same thing. He said right here that if you do that you're going to remain in that joy. He's going to give you happiness so long you continue to guard the commandments and live. Abide means to live in that love. And then you will remain guarded by him and you get that happiness. So go ahead and keep going out to 16. I'm sorry.
Okay. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should endure, so that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he might give you. These words I command you so that you love one another. If the world hates you, you know that it hated me before you. If you were of the world would love its own. But because you are not of the world, but I chose you out of this world, for that reason, the world hates you.
Mm. See this love-hate relationship? That shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't have a love-hate relationship within the ones you love. Because when you do, that means the world done creeped in somewhere.
Yeah.
That's literally what that means. So when you start finding that you're hating things about your spouse or your loved ones, it's the world is somewhere in there, and you need to examine yourself first and then examine them and say, why is it that I hate going to Christmas celebrations, Halloween celebrations with family that I love? I love my family, but then when they do that, I find that I hate that. Almost to the point where I started stamping it on them when you shouldn't. Remember, you're supposed to abide in him, and he's going to deal with that. But that's the way you find out some of those, when you see you're having problems in your home and you're married, look there. Look no further than the fact that it means the world is somewhere in the confines of your house, somewhere, right?
Hey, can I say something that's so good? I like Deanna's version, and man, I have that whole passage highlighted, but I know it sounds sad, y'all, but it never really struck me that when you're keeping the commandments, it is really teaching you how to love.
Mm-hmm.
And golly, it's just so crazy because our people think they don't have to keep it. And then we wonder why we're killing each other, not loving our brothers and sisters the way we're supposed to be. Wow. That was good. That's all I can say.
It makes me think of this, and this one hit home. Why do we hate moving into communities with our own people?
Because we don't love them.
Because we don't love them. I know that sounds so simple, but then you're gonna ask. But then I'm gonna do. Here's what I'm gonna do. What a little 8, 7-year-old gonna do? Well, why? Why don't I love them? Why don't I love them?
Well, can I say it this way? I like what Katina said. That's a hard pill to swallow. I think honestly, I feel like I love my people more now that I've awakened than when I did when I was asleep. But we know certain behaviors and things about our people that we don't like, that we don't want to be a part of, because we talked about it. I considered it, but then I'm like, I don't know if I want to see that every day. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. And the world is in those communities.
Yes.
One of the things that we know, they're not keeping the commandments. And we are. And so you move into those communities. And one of the things that, I know we kept bars on our windows because we lived in the hood. Because we knew that if we did not, when we were gone, somebody was going to break in and take our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Little that we did have. And so we would my dad never really bought anything new. Everything he bought was used because he didn't want people seeing what we were buying to think that we had anything so that they would break into our homes. Right. So now if you're in the truth, you have a good job, but you move back to the community. Why? Because one, it's a little bit less expensive. You can get more. But if you move into those communities with the stuff that you have, even though you're keeping Torah, they're not. You have the possibility of having your house broken into.
And I have to turkey neck on what she said. You know what's so crazy about what you just said? When I'm walking around in these neighborhoods, because we all know we live in, quote, better neighborhoods now. The irony of what you just said, that has been striking me for years. I'm like, watch Christmas, all the boxes that are sitting on the sidewalk. Yes. So you literally just told me what all you have in your house.
Yes.
So if I was of that mindset, I might be trying to figure out how I'm gonna get up in there and get what you just got.
And then go sell it to somebody else.
And that
Exactly.
that literally, but see that what y'all describing, that literally is a violation of Torah. Literally,
It's a violation.
It's called theft.
It is.
Coveting, yes, coveting another man's wife, wanting what's not yours, being a thief is against Torah. The Most High basically says Hasatan, and that strange, what's that scripture? John 10:10. So the enemy, the enemy is, he said he talks about the scriptures talk about thieves all the time.
All the time.
And thieves do what? Thieves take also.
They do.
So when they're doing that, they think that they're connecting themselves to the thing, but in reality, what they're doing is they're connecting themselves to the act. And they don't
But listen, if we were in our awakened state and we all moved to the hood, do y'all think we would go put out a 75-inch empty TV box and say, I just got, you see what I'm saying? Like your mindset is totally different. Even if you were in the hood, we'd be like, no, we taking this on out to the dumpster, or we taking it somewhere so they don't know what we have.
I would cut that box up in a whole bunch of little pieces.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. It would not be on the side of the street. No.
Yeah.
Right.
So let me take a different angle at this. I'm not disagreeing with you. I totally get it, right? But if we're gonna have the mentality like Mashiach and Yahuwah, and that there is a problem that we have, and the Most High solves problems, right? So we can't keep doing what we're doing, just having that same mentality and saying, yeah, if I did that, they're gonna take my stuff, right? We gotta start understanding why would they take stuff. It's because they want it, or they need it, or they're coveting. We gotta understand where that root of that is. Is it greed?
With some,
so hold on. It wasn't a real. Just hold on. So
I thought it was a real question.
Sorry.
Okay,
right.
Okay.
I know I had to look at it like,
okay.
These are now you can answer it later. I just wanted to say, so once you find the root of the action, the unrighteous action, you're supposed to do something about that. Now, we can say, oh, I got to call the cops on them. Is that the right way to deal with that? Not according to what Matthew, I think, was it 14, 15, or 16, somewhere there, about how you're supposed to bring those things. You're supposed to go to that person.
18.
And I grew up in the hood, and I remember we got like a microwave when microwaves first started coming out, and somebody in the neighborhood stole a microwave. And them then just took our cornbread and sweet potato pies, right? So
they were huge when they first came out, though.
It was ginormous. I know they stole
that.
They stole it, man. And it was sitting on, I remember it like it was yesterday because it sat on top of the dryer. It was because it was that big. It was just, and it took up the whole space. And you had to like put your hand behind it to turn the dryer on. But my point was, I remember how pissed off my dad was. He was cussing and my mom was like, I think I know who did it. Right? So we went ahead, and some people was like, just call the police. No, we went over there. We didn't get the microwave back because they had already sold it.
Oh, wow.
But we was able to kind of let them know, like, we know it was you. Right? To put shame. Sometimes shame is the best thing you can put on a person. And some people say, what? No, shame is an important aspect of getting someone to repent, to confess, right? Now the rest of the story goes a couple more years later in the same house. That same family told us about another family that was going to try to break in and steal a TV. Now, that's 2 years removed. And someone was like, you didn't get your microwave back. Well, we saved our TV from getting stolen. So now I say that to say this, like, we have to sometimes be like Kepha and Paul in our approach. And we got to be like, I can't say this, but I remember Bernie Mac on his first stand-up on, what is that, Def Comedy Jam. He came out there, he said, I ain't scared of you. Right? Okay. sometimes you gotta remember the scriptures tell us to fear him only. So we can't go into our own neighborhoods around our own people and be scared.
Okay.
Okay, you
Appreciate
can't
that.
now being wise. Yeah, like if you just know that you got a crack house across the street and that substance got their brains gone, yes, the wise thing to do is to lock your doors, maybe not move there if you can help it. But what I'm getting at is I'm not scared of them. That's why when we go do charity, I can just say I wasn't afraid to be around.
No, I wasn't afraid. We had homeless people that used to hang out on the corner store that was right behind our house all the time. And I got a chance to see that every day walking to school and every afternoon and every weekend because they were there.
You fear. So here's what it is. And I'm just going to be coming from the hood. I'm just going to say it. We're not afraid of the homeless people. We're scared of the thieves. But guess what? Most of the time, them same people. And I mean, come on. A homeless person need stuff more than the thief that you're thinking about. The thief that has an apartment down the street or something or whatever, a broke down car, they want to steal your car. Yeah, but they're the same people. Until we start seeing them, like you see the homeless person is disarmed because they don't have a home. They don't have a covering. You're like, I can come and find you anytime. The same is true for the thief. If you think they're 2 blocks down, go 2 blocks down and be like, hey man, how you doing? I live 2 blocks up. Hey, I noticed, seen some footprints, mud, it's the same color, whatever you got to say. It's like, now some of us say, man, they're going to pull a gun on you. Well, you know what? I've told some people this recently, and you can judge me however you want. I said, if I got to die from a dangerous situation, I'd rather it be me trying to love on my brothers and sisters. My brothers and sisters. I'm not looking for friends. I'm looking for my brothers and sisters. So think about that. We got to start changing our approach, our mentality about this. I understand what's behind it, but the scriptures is telling us that we're supposed to love one another. And it's hard to get to love when we're all the way on the hate side of it.
Yeah.
See what I'm getting at? So think of Bernie Mac. If you haven't seen that, excuse the language after that word, but I loved how he cut the music and he said, I ain't scared of you. And that let everybody know, y'all ain't finna scare me off the stage. I came here to do something. See what I'm getting at? And that's the Kepha. That's the Paul that we was reading the other night about. Paul said, he said, y'all, I speak rude, but my wisdom, my knowledge is not rude. Meaning I'm gonna talk hard to you sometimes, but that's because I got to get the point across. So anyway, let's keep going. We can talk about the hood.
That was good.
We can talk about the hood
all day long.
All day long, right? I want to hit these next 2. How we doing on time? 2 hours. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go this long, but okay. So Matthew 19, and 1 through 9. Somebody read that for me. I'm trying to save some of my voice.
I can take this one. Hope I sound as good as D though. Okay, I'm reading from the Sefer. Is everybody ready?
Fine.
Okay. And it came to pass that when Yahusha had finished these sayings, he departed from Galil and came into the coast of Yehud beyond the Jordan, and great multitudes followed him, and he healed them there. The Parashim also came unto him, tempting him, and saying unto him, is it lawful for a man to put away his woman for every cause? And he answered and said unto them, have ye not read that he who made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his woman, and they two shall be one flesh. Wherefore they are no more two, but one flesh. What therefore Elohim has joined together, let not man put asunder. They say unto him, why did Moshe then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away? He said unto them, Moshe, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your women. But from the beginning, it was not so. And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his woman, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, breaks wedlock. And whosoever marries her, which is put away, breaks wedlock. That's deep.
So I don't know if you felt like I did, but man, I'm reading this and I'm gonna share a personal moment. So when I went through a divorce, I had a person in the family, not through blood, but through marriage, that quoted this to me and said, man, you sin. And I'm like, okay, I didn't, I started giving the reasons to myself. I didn't defend myself in that moment, but I felt very condemned by that. But now, as I continue to go through this scripture and read it and understand it, like there is a lot of wisdom here, and it's freeing because it's telling you, like, you notice the question they asked at the beginning. They said, is it lawful for a man to put away his woman for every cause? Now, here's what it says. It says for a man to put away his woman. That didn't apply to me in that. I didn't catch that. So I let that condemn me because I was like, the Pharisees, because this is the Pharisees saying this. The Pharisees was asking this and is attempting to say, like, hey, is it good for a man to put away a woman for every cause? So what does every cause mean? That means your whim. She can't smelling wrong, or you don't like her. I don't like her no more. We don't have a loving relationship no more. Right. So I'm gonna put her away. I'm gonna stop doing this marriage and just put her away. But it's the man, it's speaking to the man. Then later on, it speaks about the man and the woman because they kept tempting him. After he answered them, it says, they said, where is it? 7. They say unto him, then why did Moshe then command you to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away? It was like they was asking stupid questions because the law is real clear about when you can put away a woman, and he describes that. So this is not, again, like I said, this is not one of those moments of amazement of how the Most High, as Yahushua HaMashiach, commands the scriptures because he is the word, right? So it's like he just dipped in and said, it said right there. You got to go back and read that, brother. He even said, did you read this? Something like that where it says, answer them. He said, he says 4. It says, and he answered and said to them, have you not read that I mean, come on. This is our king, right? This is our salvation. This is our Yeshua. Yahusha is our Yeshua, right? And I'm like, yo, he putting it down on them. It's like they thought they had found a little loophole in there. He was like, ain't no loophole here. She got to be doing what for you to put her away? Fornication, which means what? Being disloyal.
Yeah, relations with another man while you married to her.
So to her is Yasharel for a moment. The man is Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
All right. So he put us away. Did he break his own law?
No.
Yeah. So because like everywhere I've read, being facetious, being sarcastic, everywhere I've read, Yasharel has always obeyed the Most High. We ain't never transgressed the law. We just been perfect people the whole time that he made us a people, right? Right?
Moshe couldn't even stay up the mountain.
Come on, that's what I'm saying.
40 days without them doing the food.
we would say we're gonna do us right. We're gonna do us right. And then
all that you have said, we will obey and do.
We will do.
And the next day, we were making
down that
gold, turned into yes, exactly. So
these be the gods that delivered us out of Mitzrayim.
So
The
so
shame.
right. So this kind of love is the endurance love, y'all. It's the type of love that endures, not because like she's getting no longer, I don't like the way she looked no more. She shaved her head now. I don't love her no more. Right? That's not what it says. It says, for it was not so in the beginning. Right? Ain't that what it says?
Yep.
Come on. Ain't that what it says?
Yes.
So I'm saying that because I'm saying this to us as men, but also to women that have the choice to start a divorce. Right? That's not necessarily covered, because that's not how think about that. It was men that put away women. I'd be curious to see. I would be curious to see when you look at the divorce rate, how many are initiated by the wife and how many are initiated by the husband. Now, it's going to be very skewed these days, since now same-sex marriage is a thing. Jeez. So that'll make it kind of hard to figure that out. You got two men, which one's the husband? When you got two women, which one's the husband?
They're both husbands.
But anyway, you get what I'm trying to say here. So if he says that he's not gonna do that unless he's gonna keep the Torah in that he endured and strived with us, even as we were, he had plenty of opportunity to divorce us early on,
I think
but he chose to endure some, right? Until it was like, look, this is, you done went too far. And I'm gonna get to some of those examples. Does somebody already have, huh?
Can I give you a statistic real quick? Because you had me curious.
Yes.
Let me give him one. Let me give him one right quick before I get out. First, arranged marriages statistics, 18% divorce rate. Regular marriages statistics, this is in America. Regular marriage statistics, 75% divorce rate.
And the statistics I'm reading to follow up, the Whitley Law Firm says 70% of divorces are initiated by women.
Well,
so 70 of that 75%, that's woo.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm one
So
of
you
them.
weren't going to get into this,
No,
but we were talking about this.
Go ahead.
I was listening to somebody talking about marriage, and they mentioned that the woman is not allowed to file for a divorce. And I kind of felt some kind of way about that when they said that, and I was like, I gotta go read that scripture. And of course, I kept getting sidetracked. But the Most High kept bringing to my remembrance of him divorcing us. When it talks about the man divorcing the woman because she was saying that a man should not be divorcing his wife, especially if you're in the truth. Both parties are in the truth, unless she has been unfaithful. And I was like, I gotta go look that up. I gotta go find that. And then he does this lesson and finding all of these scriptures. And here's Hamashiach saying, talking about the man, that you shouldn't be putting away your wife lest it be for fornication.
Right. Now, let's go back to the beginning, y'all.
The beginning.
He said, he reminded us, he said, that wasn't even an option.
He did.
Divorce wasn't even an option. He said he said, so then they came and hit him with then why did Moshe create this document, to sign up and do it, so it wasn't a thing. Meaning when you got married, like the commitment level in your mind and your heart was like that of what we just read out of Mark 12, where it was saying, like, with all of my being, with everything that I got, I'm gonna love that way, right? That's the Most High. We're supposed to love like that. That's the way we're really supposed to love. But we see when you dangle something in front of somebody, it's like, see, if it don't work out.
I was just about to say,
if it don't work out, you can always get a divorce.
That's the problem.
If it don't work out, see, here's the thing. If I told you, you got to make it work.
You got to make it work.
I'm gonna close the door and lock y'all in the room. You make it work. And I've seen some places where that's one of the way they do counseling when they think it's salvageable, right? And here's the thing: it's like even in my saying that I'm saying those people might not be able to make it work. And I
think it's because of the way we're so
option,
broken.
we're broken and we have options.
Options. Yes.
But the two people should go into it not believing they have that option. And I think that's also the difference. Back in the day, that's how it was. You were just gonna do it regardless. And I know each of us probably have our own testimony. It's one of the things we've always said, me and Lee talked about early on, the pain of a divorce and taking kids through that. We were not going to do that again. And I remember us specifically having that conversation. And I said, I am not going to be divorced again. I can't take myself and put my kids through that type of pain again. And from the man's perspective, he said, and neither am I, which is, we joke when we say it, but it's literally not an option. You cannot say the D word in this house. We look at each other and say, well, you better figure it out because it's not an option.
Right.
And
now,
I think it's a problem.
they said the lady said that like arranged marriages are coerced and this kind of stuff like that. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm saying like, no, not many of them situations would be like that if, again, like what you just said, if that wasn't an option in your culture. If all of a sudden you start I'm counseling my sons and my daughters, like, look, divorce ain't no option. We don't do that. So you better be sure. Yes.
Let's face it, evil has taught us what its definition of love is. We've been trained by evil what love supposed to look like.
Yes. Yes.
This is true. Evil don't know what love is.
Yeah.
And it don't, because our brother Paul, in this next scripture passage, he give us that definition that like you should have that in your mind when you're dealing with people that you say that you love. And I don't know if we need to read it again, but like the love suffers long and is kind, it doesn't envy, it doesn't vaunt itself up, it's not puffed up. It starts to list these things out. When you start taking that and putting that in there, like that's gonna change the dynamic that you have in your home. So as a man, I'll speak from this, like the puffed up part, you have to make sure you're a humble man, period. Humble don't mean weak. Humble just means like I have control of my power and I don't abuse it.
Hallelujah.
Right? So when you walk through your love that way and you're saying that I'm not going to be puffed up, it doesn't behave itself unseemingly. It seeks not her own. Listen to that. They gave it a gender.
A gender.
Love is gender.
It's not easily provoked. Thinks no evil, rejoices not in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. See, again, if you meet somebody that gets happy when you receive a truth from someone. So when someone comes to you and says, hey, you ain't supposed to be mixing fabrics, right? And then you get together with that person and you study it together with them, you have to be humble to do that.
Right.
If you're not doing that, you're not humble. And therefore, you're going to have that problem with that part because you're not going to be able to rejoice in the truth. Like you would get happy once you realize that, like, oh, I understand why I can't do it. I would have to make my own clothes, or it's expensive or whatever the reason is. There's a reason. Just like if you have to work today, you have to work today. If you following Torah to the letter, I mean, I'm being facetious, my brother. Like if you working, next time I see you, I gotta kill you because that's what the scriptures say. If we take it to the letter, it says shall be put to death if he's found working on the Sabbath.
It does.
But we ain't doing that. I can go out here right now. I know some brews probably somewhere in Dallas somewhere that I could catch them and be like, hey man, what you doing? They called me in. All right, man, I gotta shield you now, bro. This is it. We wouldn't have any brothers left. We wouldn't have any sisters left. So
that's why we're doing that. We're not doing it in love.
Right.
And the fact that you're in captivity and our masters are evil, right? We still supposed to do because
Right.
we know we need to survive.
Exactly. So
Right.
if we drop down to 9 and 10, that answers that. We say this part, but we never connect it to what we just read. So it says, for we know in part and we prophecy in part, right? But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. Now, hold
I
on.
love this
We
scripture.
just got
Yeah.
through reading about love. It doesn't say, but now we know in part, but, or otherwise, or likewise, or something. It says, adding these things together. So when you're loving someone, you only know in part what's going on with them. So you can only declare to them in part. Now, when this is two ways to look at this. I know we look at this and say, this is prophecy when Hamashiach come back. Sure, absolutely. Because when he comes back, he's going to perfect us, right? And when he perfects us, then we can do away with the partials. Because the partials are really just, if you start thinking about it, it's really just rumors and hearsay about a person. Because the way you get to know a person is you ask them, you talk to them and say, hey, now they can lie to you and you still ain't got the whole story.
Yeah.
So you can seek whole, but he's letting you know here is like, we only know in part. That's all you know. You only know your part. That's it. So go ahead. You were saying something. I'm sorry. Somebody else has something on this? Sorry.
No, just it's really good to go over this again. I'm just sitting here thinking in my head, why would somebody take the vows? Why would you speak those vows to a person, but in the back of your mind, you got a loophole that you're already thinking about? Like, it's crazy when you think about what we say to each other, but you already standing up there going, but if it don't work out, we can just get divorced. Well, don't even waste everybody's time with that.
We're so used to having a plan B and a plan C and a plan D and a plan E that we just operate off of that. And we don't realize that all of those plans have to be approved by the Most High.
Hallelujah.
They have to be in the will of the Most High. You know, I look at it like this. Like, you can make a plan like that about divorce, but if the Most High don't agree to it, he gonna find a way to make that where you can't get divorced, right? But because he gives us that will to go and do things, to like force our way through, right? You find your way where you're outside of the will of the Most High. When like you're doing what you want to do, and you're trying to have your way, and he's letting you do it just so you can come back around and see yourself and smell yourself and realize, like, man, I made some mistakes.
I mean, you were just talking about you had some videos that you watched where women are talking about where they made the mistake of divorcing their husbands because they were following their career, or something was going on where they didn't think
he was too basic.
Right.
He didn't make as much as me and that kind of stuff.
They had all of these reasons, and now they're coming back and they're counseling women to say, when you find a good husband, you better keep him, because now that man is with.
Actually, let's rephrase that.
What?
When your husband finds you.
When your husband finds you. Yes. When your husband, that's the correct way. Yes. And that's what we've been teaching our daughter. Let your husband find you. Yeah. And so.
Because it's a lie when they tell you that men ain't out there looking for a wife.
Right.
Men are out there looking for wives. The problem is, if you're trying to look at the same time, it's like you're chasing. It's like a tail. You know, a cat chasing their tail.
The dog.
or the dog. Yes.
Yeah.
Chase their tail too.
I got the visuals, sis.
So I had planned on going and reading a lot of the chapters here, but we're not. So, because, kind of going long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I've provided you the chapters and I did some bullet points based off of what I saw takeaways from this. And I'm just going to go through these kind of quickly. So, and no, I did not get it wrong. Abram and Sarai, that's what their names were when they got married.
That's right.
Right? Their union was a product of a promise. Meaning Abram was called from his father's land, and then depending on what book you're reading, it'll let you know, like, he was called, and then he unioned himself with the Most High and decided, I will obey you. And then the Most High said, from your seed, from your loins, come forth all families of the earth. I think that's one of the translations. Depends on translation, but basically he fathered many nations, right? Yeah. Between the both of them, they both made mistakes.
Yep.
The mistakes should be outlined. You know, you got Abram going into the land of the Canaan land, which was Mitzrayim, and saying, hey, we getting ready to go in here. When we meet them, you letting them know that you my sister.
Sister.
That was a mistake. But it showed the power of the Most High and how important it was for that union to not be defiled. Keep that in mind, right? And then she made some errors and laughing when the Most High sent messengers and said, hey, you know, I'm gonna come back a year from now, and you're gonna have a child. Not you're gonna be pregnant. You're gonna have a child. You're gonna have Isaac. And she laughed inside. And then I believe that's around the same time when her name changed to Sarah instead of Sarai. But
and let's not forget, she gives Abraham her concubine because she's gonna try to fulfill that prophecy in her own understanding.
I was gonna get there, yes. Not having patience. Remember, love is patient. She didn't have patience in her love with the Most High, and that she started kind of doubting. I've been barren my whole life. I'm getting old now too, on top of that. You know? So it's like, yeah. And they continued with trials and tests. They had many trials and many tests that at different points in their life, like the thing that you brought up, Gina, was a big trial, because when Ishmael came forth from Hagar, that was problematic in their household. You saw the friction begin. It was like this way. I had the child. You did, right? And she's supposed to be the servant. Servant, right? And she getting all boasty about it.
Bucking up.
Exactly. You know, and what you gotta know about the endurance factor of this, their union was mostly based on function, right? He was called to be the father of many nations. That was his function. He had to have faith in that, and he had to trust the Most High in that. And so did Sarah. When she became Sarah, she had to trust that now you have Isaac. Now what? Right? And imagine Isaac and Abraham going differently. How Sarah would have dealt with that. Where's Isaac? I had to sacrifice him. You see where I'm going? That's why I believe she wouldn't. That's another reason why I believe she wasn't there that day. We're like, you ain't going up there with him. You better get you a ox or something. You ain't going to that's our son, right? Because she's older. You know,
that's a good thought.
You know,
my only son.
That's our only son. Yes, and then so he had children by other women later on and stuff like that. But you know, I just want to bring that. Then we're gonna jump over to now Isaac and Rebekah. And that's at Genesis 24 when they actually get married. Their story is really cool. It's like, you know, I try to summarize it as best I can, but it starts with an oath, you know, and they say you're not supposed to, you know, take oaths and stuff like that. That becomes a later on thing. And I got a little time. I was going to talk about that kind of oath. It tells you that the servant had to put his hand under his thigh. And I did some deep, and I can share this another time. I'm not gonna like pull out because I didn't have time to show you where I got all this information from. But y'all, he's pledging himself to the mark that the Most High placed on Abraham, which was his circumcision. It wasn't I know you're going like, what? Yeah. So he put his hand down there. He wasn't I don't think he was grabbing it, but he put it under the thigh, and that was saying, I'm under the mark. You're under. And this is a testimony to the Most High that this oath that I'm taking from Abraham, because he told him to do it. He said, put your hand under my thigh and take this oath that my son, that you'll go find a wife for him that won't be from this land of Canaan. It'll be from my people. So, you know, one of the words, like that word testify, it's got an etymology in testicle.
Mm.
The
Mm.
loins of a man.
Mm.
So that's why later on, if you think about one of the things that we know now is the nakedness factor, right?
Mhm.
You would have some problems with that if you had your son try to take an oath. He would have to see your nakedness. That would violate that Torahic law. So that's why later on it's like let your yays be your yays and your nays be your nays. That's when we used to say, I don't know if you used to say this coming up, but we used to say, my word is my bond.
Yes.
Our word is a powerful thing. So when you say that you're going to do something, do it. When you say you're not going to do something, don't do it. Right? But we didn't even do that as a nation. So that's what that was about that. Oh, sorry. I just want to take a little thing on that to like let you know. So he took that oath and it was a serious thing. That's why that dude, when he gets there, he's talking to Laban. And it's like, hey man, I took this. Oh, who's your master? It's Abraham. And oh, okay, we know who he is and all that. And he says, I took an oath that I'm supposed to find this woman, and it was described in detail about how she would appear to the servant, and that's how Rebecca appeared to the servant, not to Isaac yet, but to the servant. So like that's why I say you got to have trust in others. He was part of that household. For him to be remember, servants in Hebraic times to us, they were part of the family. So he's basically an extension of Abraham's family going out there finding his son. That's a lot of trust. That means he has to know Isaac. He has to know Abraham. He has to be attuned to what the Most High is saying to them through him to him to go and actually perform that. He gave him detail of if she did not come
with him.
All this, I mean, the whole thing was there. There was no confusion of what you was going there to do. So that's why I said the last bullet point is this was an arrangement. That's arranged marriage. Dad wins, go to that family and go find him a wife, right? And then it says they met, meaning, Isaac and Rebecca, they met after those requirements had been satisfied, meaning after Laban heard about because that's his sister, remember, that's his sister. And his character is already showing in this interaction with Abraham's servant. That he's that kind of dude that like making deals with people and talking to them about how things gonna go and checking them out. But yeah, so that's Isaac and Rebecca. Somebody putting writing on there. Is it? Anyway, or did I do that?
You
anyway,
might have done it.
It's all good. So now we're gonna go on to who?
Jacob, Leah, and Rachel.
Leah and Rachel. Yeah, boy.
Nobody likes to talk about Leah, but that was good.
Yeah. So I found a family portrait, like later on. I'm just kidding. Your boy was looking clean, though, right?
He was looking clean. I gotta move my screen so I can see the other side.
Oh, so I'll
That's definitely Leah on the right now. She look a little Queen Latifah with an attitude.
She's supposed to have they say the tender eye. That always make me laugh when I read it in that translation. It says she had a tender eye. It's like, okay, I had to understand what that really meant. That she's not as easy to look at as the other one. She looks similar, but there was something about her. I don't know, but we won't get into that. So the first bullet point, everybody knows my man had to do some work to get both these wives. Even though he was trying to work for the one, he got two. But he had to work a long time. He gave a lot of years of his life to get these women. And I'm just saying this to say that to you brothers that's out there that's searching, that's still looking, that's trying, that like work is required. You will not find your wife just sitting down doing nothing. You got to get out there and do something. You got to be obedient to, again, he was still being obedient. His mom was like, hey, look, and that's the last bullet point, by the way. His mom's like, hey, you need to go see my brother, basically, right? And it was for two reasons. Because you need to get out of this house. You and Esau finna kill each other. And because when your dad passed away, that's what's gonna happen. He gonna murk you, right? So she knew it was up, but the other reason is she also knew that there was eligible women, and once you do that, you've established your house. And the mantle that he had to have that established. He couldn't go around sowing raw oats, like they say in Coming to America, because you know that's not what we do. You have to establish everything, property, lineage, all the children that was going to come from this. You know, we was watching that. That is a real thing as it relates to that. Oh, okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. He was pointing out something on there, so it's all good. You know, it was helping with the lesson today.
He's listening at least, right?
He's listening. There you go. Give him a kiss for us, right? So the father of the bride's customs took precedence. Okay, and what I'm saying here is there's a connection to this. Laban was Leah and Rachel's father, correct? Correct. Anybody want to argue? Okay, that's not argue. So he told, even though he was crooked and saying, yeah, you can work 7 years and Rachel. And then he gives him Leah. And he's like, why'd you do this? You know, right? And he tells him his custom. And his custom preceded whatever it was Jacob was gonna want to say. He was like, hey man, that ain't how it is in my culture, man. My dad, my mom didn't do it that way. Well, my father's father, that's not how they did things, right? If you say what you're gonna say, that's what you're gonna do. But see, he didn't actually get an oath. If he had made him take an oath for Rachel, I don't think Leah would have even been in the picture. But the father of the bride's customs took precedence in this situation.
Was it kind of smart of him, though, now that I'm thinking about this story? I mean, if we know she had a tender eye or there was something off about her, in a way, he was kind of looking out for her to make sure that she would be taken care of. No?
Away properly.
I think he was trying to give her away properly, but as we know, as we read on about Uncle Laban and his dealings with
his craftiness,
yes, he wanted him to stay there and work. And do you think that he would have stayed there and worked for Uncle Laban if he would say, "Oh, you got to marry Leah first"?
Oh no,
that was his way of getting 14 years out of this thing.
Yeah.
It turned into like 20 something, 21 something.
Because he still didn't want to let them go, right. Even after
they were all married.
They were all married.
Children
came forth.
There was a workforce. It was a workforce. It was a workforce.
You're right. You're right.
Somebody need to get Uncle Laban for child.
Right.
Uncle Laban was trying to get them kids to work. He was like, "Hey man, y'all eating." Y'all doing
it was the first sweatshop.
First hustle is what it was.
Y'all gonna get out here and work. That's what's about to go down, right? So, but
he talked about how blessed he was because Jacob was in his
house, there,
and that's why he wanted him to leave.
Yeah, I was gonna say though, but that's a testimony to us. I've always felt like there were certain people that benefited because of the favor. I mean, we've been walking in favor before we knew we were.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have been protected because we've been present.
We've been there and
seeing little small observances. You ever walk into a restaurant and it's slow? Ain't nothing happening, ain't nobody there. You sit down, you start eating, and you look up like 3 or 4 5 minutes later, and it's like blue. Like where all these people come from? Now I just chalk it up as kind of coincidence a little bit. Now the Most High revealed to me, he says, you are blessed in the city and blessed in the field. So wherever you go, wherever you come from, people, they don't even know why. It's like, you know what, I'm gonna stop over here at this sandwich shop because I don't know, I just want a sandwich all of a sudden. And you're there, you know, and it's that. And it's like, that's a big thing. That's a real thing. That's a real, so the blessed. And
Ms. Bakai, it happens it happens everywhere.
Everywhere we
go. We will, let's go over here because ain't nobody here. I kind of don't feel like being bothered. The minute we go in there, about 10 minutes later, it's packed.
Boom. And I'm kind of little packed, a lot of packed.
We do too, but you know what? I always look at Lee and say, "Oh, we beat the rush."
No,
Ashaya just said it happens to her all the time.
You brought the rush, Israel. I'm telling y'all, you're bringing that to. So you have to be careful. That's why Proverbs tells us not to cast your pearls before the swine.
Where you going?
So before you walk in that establishment and give them your business, before you cash out somebody for their business or something like that, Yahusha, Colin, you know, make sure, joking, messing with y'all, right? Make sure that you're not before swine. Make sure you know, like, hey, these are people that deserve this. Like, I can't tell you like how many times and places I'll go, and the Most High puts it on my heart to say, you know, like, speak a word of blessing over them, like Abram, encouragement and blessing. You know what I'm saying when I say blessing, but I mean like a barakah, speak a barakah over someone and say, you know, like, may prosperity be upon your business. I've done that before, you know, and not saying it's me, but he did call us to bless, to be the light and salt of the earth. And that's a blessing to the earth, for it to have light where there was darkness, and for there to be preserving and cleansing things where that stuff was absent. So yeah, that's what was happening with our brother. You know, our great grandfather, right? That's what happened with him. He had that mantle, and that mantle ain't no joke. And that mantle is still present throughout all of the lineage of those people, from you know, all of the 12 tribes, and you know, Joseph. You saw what happened with Joseph. That's another example of that happening in real time. He goes to a place where, you know, literally, like, people didn't know him, and they kind of was, anyway, you get what I'm saying, right? Beautiful lot to learn from all of those marriages, those takings, right? Because he did take her for a wife, even though the first one was sort of like slid into the tent. It's like, here she go. And hey, this ain't Rachel. And you know, now there's a law about this one where it talks about it's in Deuteronomy. Now, I wouldn't say that he hated Leah, but there's a law that talks about about the firstborn and who gets the firstborn's inheritance from their father. It goes to the wife that had the first son that was hated. I was like, dang, that's messed up. Anyway, thought that was interesting. Anybody got something they want to say?
Joseph got the double.
Joseph got the double portion. You want to expound on that some more?
No, I was just saying that was my observation, that Joseph, which is Rachel's firstborn son, he got a double portion.
Yep.
That's the prophecy over in Isaiah or Jeremiah. About receiving double.
Oh, the double portion. Yeah, I think that's in Isaiah, I think. But we can find that. So check this out. Let's see. I'm almost done, y'all. Hang in there.
No, this is good.
So I did want us to read some more. There's this, man, and this is the way I want to kind of sort of bring it to a close. But so any common threads that you're seeing, we kind of talked about some of them. So when you going all the way, Adam, I could have did like David or something, but I decided that was he had too many wives to go through to do that. We've been, you know, all day on that. But the common threads between like Adam and Chua and Abram and Sarai and Isaac, Rebecca, you know, Jacob and Leah and Rachel, what are some common threads that you see in those marriages that they weren't perfect? That's one of the ones I'm gonna throw out there.
For me, it's the women. The women doing things out of order.
Okay.
It's sort of delaying the progress or the barakah, we'll say, that was to come. I mean, eventually we got it, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else?
The man being obedient.
The man being obedient. Okay. I mean, let's think about this. Let's see. Adam stood before the Most High and heard the commandment. But then when Eve came about, she brought him the fruit. And she said, and that's what he literally said. He said, this woman brought me the fruit and I ate it.
No, he said,
you gave me. She brought this fruit. He tried to push it all off on her. Right. I realized it's like, well, bro, you knew what the fruit looked like. You seen the tree. I planted you right there. You knew, right? But anyway, we're not gonna get into that conversation. Oh my gosh. And we're gonna be like, it was his fault because he wasn't there. No, it was her fault because she wasn't listening. It's like, come on, just stop. They were one. And at the end,
Eventually. Yes.
right? But he did what he was supposed to do in that garden. He
Yeah.
being Hasatan, the adversary, the thief, the liar, right? He deceived her because she was the one that was going to be easier to see, because we just brought that out. She wasn't
was
really
a thief.
She wasn't physically there to really hear that. So like, when you talked about teaching, chances are he was like showing her the ropes, like, hey, this is what we're supposed to be in here doing. We're supposed to be naming things, and we're supposed to be doing this, and we over this, and we over that. And by the way, we ain't supposed to touch them trees. We don't know. I mean, I had it written down, but I'm just saying, you're going through catch her, speed her up. He might have told her that. I don't know, but I do know she said, where did she get that from? Where did she get it from?
She had to get it.
She had to get it from somewhere. And it wasn't from the deceiver, because he corrected her and said, no, you can touch it, you won't die. He didn't lie about that. That was the truth. So where did she get that from? What I'm saying is she didn't probably make that up herself. It was something they might have just been like going through. It's like, yeah, we don't touch those trees over there. And not from them, or we're gonna die.
Mhm.
He just probably said, if we touch them, we're gonna die. You know, don't mess with them. I know y'all, it's not written. I'm just saying this is a marriage. And in marriage, you know, there's little conversations that ain't privy for everybody else. So maybe that's one of them knowing parts. Anyway, go ahead. Anybody else?
I had something.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at the women, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing Israel. I'm seeing the nation. And so I'm looking at the women and I'm seeing the nation as it relates to our nation and the character of our nation and how we tend to act as a nation.
Okay. So you're seeing the character of some of these women.
Yeah.
Okay, I can go with that. Like, let's go through that real quick. So Eve, I wouldn't say she was disloyal.
No.
She got deceived.
Right.
And then she got, it feels like Adam just blamed her. It's like, man, if you hadn't did that, we would still be in the garden, blah, 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 you know.
Mm-hmm.
And but still she kept doing her function, which was to bring life, to give birth to more children, more men, right? To get the lineage going. And she was already keeping Torah there, because the Torah says you're not supposed to deny your husband relations. She didn't do that, obviously, because them dudes didn't show up from nowhere, right? Right, and then even the daughters. So, Sarah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so she was impatient, but she still kept her function. She again didn't deny her husband at that old age. It's like, boy, you're gonna have a heart attack messing with me. She didn't say that. She was like, come on.
Oh my gosh, you gotta add.
Hey, that's what happened. Hey, she laughed. So what was funny? Was it just because she was old, or she was probably thinking about Abram too? He was old too.
That's what she said.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So
she said she was old. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She just talking about the little extra that I put on.
Tony Rebecca always put extra on it.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Put a little extra seasoning on it.
Israel. She didn't say that, fam. I envisioned it that way. She was like, boy, I'm Sarah. Anyway, let me stop. Rebecca. Well, let's talk about Rebecca. Not a lot, except for she was obedient. She was obedient. And even when she didn't even know she was being obedient, she walking in there drawing water and having that water with her and showing up just like the prophecy, or like the oath that he took said it would be. And that's what it was.
And she went to the Most High and asked him why she was having so many pains, and he gave her the prophecy of the two sons. You having that,
and she understood that prophecy and did not do anything to stop the selling of the stew for the birthright.
No,
she didn't do nothing to stop that.
No,
thankfully. Right. So very important there. Yes, women. Is Israel like that sometimes? I don't know. I was like, I guess. I mean,
when we got it, we got it. But when we don't.
It's like with us, we either all in or we all out. It ain't no in between. We take it 100 or 0.
You say we're not playing the hokey pokey. We're not putting left foot in.
No.
We're not. Okay. We just jumping in. I love Leah and Rachel, both of them, in fact, because Leah was the one, wasn't she one that took the idol from her father?
It was
Rachel. It was
It
Rachel.
was
Look,
Rachel.
it was Rachel. Look at Rachel.
Because if
Leah.
she hadn't taken that, he wouldn't have been able to find. It took him a long time to find them. That second time.
Yep. That was interesting. So that's Rachel. What about Leah? Leah was just in competition for children, and
Yeah.
she I think
Yes.
she did. I think she loved him. She just
Yes.
was hurt by the fact that he didn't. And so
yeah.
that's why some of the names of those children
Yes.
are named out what they are.
What they are, right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And also Rachel, go back to Rachel, unfruitful at
I was
first.
gonna say she was unbarren for a minute, wasn't she?
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Or barren, I'm sorry, unbarren,
Ooh,
barren.
until the husband started to level out the way he was dealing with both his wives.
Right.
When he started to come back to her in a different way, and I'd be like, you know, I romantically love you because you what I really want. When he stopped doing that and started being a husband to both of his wives properly,
Right.
then she
Then
started bringing forth children.
That's good.
Yep.
I looked at it that way.
And then the whole story about the mandrake plant and stuff.
Yeah,
like
the man. That's what I was thinking
I
about.
felt I felt bad for her in that moment, but when you read that her sister was hated, they had to have been saying some things or treating her a certain way for her to be hated.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when she said, "You've taken my husband, you know, you now want my children too."
That's deep.
Mm-hmm.
You want my children to go out here and pick some stuff for you too?
You say that cut deep.
Yeah. And that night she said, "Well, he could be in your tent tonight."
It just sounds so, I'm sorry, that's so foreign to me. I'm sorry. It's foreign to me. That was your moment. No, just so
Okay. So
Did
you
you-
said Jeremiah put her away. So
yeah,
I'm assuming that's talking
we're gonna
about
read.
Yashrai.
Yeah, so Jeremiah 3, and I'm gonna read it this time. So I'm gonna go Jeremiah 3, we're gonna go to 6, and I'm gonna read the 17 on this. Y'all ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. It says Yahuwah said also unto me in the days of Yoshiyahu the king, have you seen that which backsliding Yasharel has done? She has gone up upon every high mountain and under every green tree, and there has played the harlot. I really don't have to read this. You already know where this is going. And I said, after she had done all these things, turn you unto me. But she returned not. So that's my example of he was enduring in that relationship, and we were already
Being
fornicating,
wow.
meaning he could have already divorced her. But he says, I said after all she had done these things to turn you unto me, meaning repent. But she returned not. We didn't repent. And her treacherous sister, Yehuda, saw it. Meaning you saw it. You was right front and center for all this, right? And I saw when all the causes whereby backsliding Yasharel broke wedlock, I had put her away and given her a sefer of divorce. Whoops. Yet her treacherous sister, Yehuda, feared not, but went and played the harlot also. Now it's all of Yasharel. And it came to pass through the lightness of her whoredom that she defiled the land and broke wedlock with stones and with stocks. And yet for all this, her treacherous sister Yehuda has not turned unto me with her whole heart, but feignedly, says Yahuwah, meaning little bit. And Yahuwah said unto me, the backsliding Yasharel has justified herself more than treacherous Yehuda. Go and proclaim these words towards the north and say, return, you backsliding Yasharel, says Yahuwah, and I will not cause my anger to fall upon you. Wow. Again, another chance. For I am merciful, says Yahuwah, and I will not keep anger forever. That's to us right now. Only acknowledge your iniquity that you have transgressed against Yahuwah your Eloheka, and have scattered your ways to the strangers under every green tree, and ye have not obeyed my voice, says Yahuwah. Love that he says every green tree, because it looked good, it looked like it's fruitful, but it's not. 14. Turn, O backsliding children, says Yahuwah, for I am married unto you, and I will take you one of a city and two of a family. That's describing y'all a remnant, right? And I will bring you to Zion. I will give you pastors, or it says, some say shepherds, according to my heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. It shall come to pass when ye be multiplied and increased in the land. And in those days, says Yahuwah, they shall say no more, the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah. Neither shall it come to mind, neither shall they remember it, neither shall they visit it, neither shall that be done anymore. At that time, they shall call Jerusalem the throne of Yahuwah, and all the nations shall be gathered unto it, to the name Yahuwah, to Jerusalem. Neither shall they walk any more after the imagination of their evil heart. So in those days, the house of Yehuda shall walk with the house of Yasharel, and they shall come together out of the land of the north, and the land that I have given for an inheritance unto your fathers. But I said, how should I put you among the children and give you a pleasant land, a goodly heritage of the host of the nations? He's asking how is that going to happen? And I said, you shall call me Father and shall not turn away from me. I could keep going, but like, you see what's happening here. So when people say the stuff that you read throughout Barit Hadashah is not talking about a marriage, well, I mean, I'm looking here, Yahuwah is literally saying
he's going to become my father.
He's going to become my father. So why would he have to do that? Why would he go from being your husband to your father? Come on, it's not a secret question. There's this very important person that shows up.
So the father gives you, the father is the covering,
right?
And he gives you away
Uh-huh.
to the person that's supposed to protect you.
Right.
You're going from one covering to another, right?
Well, let's say it this way. When it comes to this one, this particular marriage that we're about to get into and finish on is, so he said he divorced us already.
That's right.
So he was our husband as a nation. And that would be, you could say Ephraim and Yehuda, or, Ephraim and Yasharel,
the two sticks.
The two sticks, northern, southern kingdom, right? So he divorced both of us. We're divorced from him, right? And so, but here he's saying he's going to now be the father, because there's one that calls him his father, and he's the son. So we're going to marry the son. The son is going to marry us, because he can't marry us again. That's against Torah.
That's against Torah. Oh, that's good. Good tie. Okay.
So you can't do that. So in order to make sure that he's not, unraveling himself in some way by going against his own Torah, he has to do it this way. So he's saying, I love how, if you go back up to, where was it up here? It was just, 15, 3 and 15. And I will give you shepherds according to my heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. Now, I'm not saying I'm one of them. Okay. If that's what it is, then all praises be to the Most High. But in this passage, I believe he's talking about, he says that, I think that passage is talking about, it's the shepherd. It says pastors, but if you look at the translation, it's better translated as shepherds. Now,
so could that be the 144,000 then?
It depends on when you want to place this.
Right.
So if we start at 14, it says, turn, repent, O backsliding children of Yahuwah, says, sorry, says Yahuwah, for I am married unto you, and I will take you one of a city, a remnant, right? Two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion. So when is he bringing us to Zion? Have you been brought to Zion yet?
No.
Okay, so this is to come. So then he says, and I will give you shepherds according to my heart, to his heart, right? Which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. It could very well be some of the forefathers. It could be Samuel. It could be, it could be some of them that walk with the Most High. It could be John. It could be Daniel. It could be, all of those could be shepherds because they had already proven themselves to be good at shepherding. And of course, the main shepherd is Hamashiach, right? But he left a spirit to guide us,
lead
us into all truth. And he says with this, he's feeding us with knowledge and understanding. So take with that how you will, but it is certainly saying that we're going to get remarried and the Father's giving us away. He gave us away when he scattered us to the earth, right? But then after the scattering, he sends his son to say, hey, that's me, but I'm not quite here for that. It's not yet my time to marry you like that. To gather you like that. What I will leave for you is basically an usher to guide you to where the wedding is going to take place, when the wedding is going to take place, and that's the Ruach HaKodesh. All right. And son, I'm gonna read this too. So we're gonna go to Hosea or Husha, and we're gonna read all of 2. And now you're like, man, all of 2? Dang, we got to read all of 2, y'all, because this is powerful. So I'm just gonna do it so we can go and get through it. Hosea 2 says, say unto your brethren, Ami, and to your sisters, Ruach Ma, plead with your mother, plead. For she is not my woman, neither am I her man. Let her therefore put away her whoredoms out of her sight, and her adulteries from between her breasts, lest I strip her naked, and set her as in the day she was born, and make her as a wilderness, and set her like a dry land, and slay her with thirst. And I will not have mercy on her children, for they be children of whoredoms. For their mother has played the harlot. Sound like what we just read, right? She conceived them. Sorry, she that conceive them has done shamefully. For she said, I will go after my lovers, that I give me my bread and my water, my wool and my flax. That's linen. My oil and my drink. Therefore, behold, I will hedge up your way with thorns, and make a wall, that she shall not find her paths, and she shall follow after her lovers, but she shall not overtake them, and she ain't gonna catch up to them. And she shall seek them, but shall not find them. Then shall she say, I will go and return to my first man, for then it was better with me than now. Sound familiar somewhere in Revelations where it said, go back to your first estate, go back to your first love? Okay. But that was because it wasn't working out with the world too good, was it? 8. For she did not know that I gave her grain and wine and oil, and multiplied her silver and gold, which they prepared for Baal. Yours might say, Lord. Therefore I will return and take away my grain in the time thereof, and my wine in the season thereof. And I will recover my wool and my flax, given to cover her nakedness. Interesting that it's wool and linen. And now I will discover her lewdness in the sight of her lovers, and none shall deliver her out of my hand. I will cause all her mirth to cease, her feast days, her new moons, and her Sabbaths, and all her solemn feasts. And I will destroy her vines and her fig trees, whereof she has said, these are my rewards that my lovers have given me, and I will make them a forest, and the beasts of the field shall eat them. And I will visit upon her the days of Balaam, wherein she burned incense to them, and she decked herself with her earrings and her jewels, and she went after her lovers and forgot me, says Yahuwah. Ah, I felt that. Therefore, behold, I will
That's
allure
still
her.
doing it today.
I know. He said, we forgot her. We forgot her. We went after our lovers to get that stuff and forgot him. Therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably unto her. What man can do this? It ain't a man. And I will give her vineyards from thence and the valley of Achor for a door of hope.
Wow.
That's a place, that's, man,
Wow.
y'all should know where that place is. Valley of Achor.
It's a place in Yasharal.
Yeah, that was in Joshua, book of Joshua. For a door of hope, and she shall sing there as in the days of her youth, and as in the day when she came up out of the land of Mitzrayim. I'm sorry, this gets to me because it didn't have to be this way, but he loves us so much. And it shall be that that it shall be at that day, says Yahuwah, that you shall call me what?
Ishi?
Somebody got the translation. I can tell you what it is.
A man as an individual or male person, often used as an adjunct to a more definite term, and in such cases, frequently not expressed in translation.
It's husband.
Is that what you're looking for?
It's a husband.
Ishi, yeah, husband.
He says that after he done gave us gave a place of hope and allured her back and give her vineyards back and all of those things and take us out of the land of Mizraim. He says, in that day, says Yahuwah, that you shall call me husband. And watch this, and shall call me no more.
Hallelujah.
What does it say?
Baali?
Which means my Lord.
My Lord.
You ain't gonna call him that no more. He said, you're gonna call me husband and not Lord. For I will take away the names of Balaam out of their mouth, and they shall no more be remembered by their name. You ain't gonna even remember calling him Lord. Because if you ain't repented for that, do it as soon as you can. If you can, right? Because that's what we call him in church and in other places. But he says, at some point when this day comes, you ain't going to even be able to, because that name is going to be gone out of their mouth, out of our mouth, right? Her is us. And in that day, I will cut a covenant for them with the beast of the field and the fowls of heaven, and with the creeping things on the ground. Sounds so much like Genesis. And I will break the bow and the sword and the battle out of the earth. And I will make them to lie down safely. Sounds like Psalms 23. And I will betroth you unto me forever. What's betrothed mean, y'all?
Wedlock, marriage.
To be set up for marriage.
Right.
Yeah, I will betroth you unto me in righteousness and in judgment and in loving kindness and in mercies. Sounds like that 1 Corinthians description of love. I will even betroth you unto me in faithfulness, and you shall know Yahuwah. Woo! It shall come to pass in that day, I will hear, says Yahuwah, I will hear the heavens, and they shall hear the earth, and the earth will hear the grain and the wine and the oil, and they shall hear Yisrael, yeah. And I will sow unto her, I will sow her unto me in the earth, and I will have mercy upon her that had not obtained mercy. And I will say to them which were not my people, you are my people. And they shall say, You are my Elohim.
Hallelujah.
That powerful. That powerful. All right, so we done read that. I think I wanted to go back quickly and hit 1 Corinthians, and then we got like two more scriptures after that, and then we done. Sorry, 2 Corinthians. My bad, y'all. 2 Corinthians. That would be Corinthian Rishon, no, Shini. And it's 11. And me and the missus went and read this last night. It's pretty deep. Should I just, maybe I ought to let them read this another. I'm gonna let y'all read this. I'm gonna let them read this. Read this on your own time. But this is describing, you know what? I'm gonna hit a specific part. I won't read the whole thing to you today. But what I will read is, let me see, 11 and yeah, let's read. I'm gonna read from 1 to like 4. We're gonna read 2 Corinthians 11, 1 through 4. I pray ye could bear with me a little in my folly, and indeed bear with me. That's real. For I am jealous over you with a righteous jealousy. Some might say a godly jealousy, or, for I have espoused you to one man, that I may present you a chaste virgin to Mashiach. Anybody want to say what you think he's saying right there? I'm gonna read it again. For I am jealous of you, that jealous over you with a righteous jealousy. For I have espoused you to one man, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to Mashiach. What's the one man? And what's espousing someone?
It's like you're being presented, right? Isn't that kind of like the idea of the father handing over the bride to the groom?
Right. You caught it. So he's Paul. This is a letter, second letter that we know of to Corinthians, right? And and we get down to this part, and he's like just saying, like, man, look, y'all bear with me. I'm about to say some stuff that might sound a little crazy, right? But just bear with me. It might sound a little off, but just bear with me. And then he says, I'm jealous over you, the called out assembly, with a righteous jealousy. What's a righteous jealousy? It's like saying, I feel like this woman right here, she belongs to me. So if I get jealous over somebody feigning her with love, that's a righteous jealousy that I have, because she belongs to me. She belongs to me. She's my woman, my wife, right? So I'm supposed to be there with. So he's saying, I am jealous over you with a righteous jealousy, for I have.
And how much more so because of the sacrifice that he paid to redeem it. I mean, for this time, right?
Correct. So he's saying he's espoused us to one man. Who is that one man? That's Yahushua HaMashiach, right? And so he says that he presented us as a chaste virgin, meaning pure.
Mm-hmm.
But check out what he say, 3 and 4. He says, but I fear lest by any means, as a serpent beguiled Chua through his subtlety, so your minds should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Hamashiach, or Mashiach, right? He's saying, I'm afraid for you, because what happened to her in the garden can happen to you, because Mashiach is so simple. Remember, not eating of the tree was simple. Don't eat of the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't do it. We're not talking like how some of the laws in Torah can be a little hard to understand. You're like, what does that mean? What do you mean? So like, if she get raped and she don't say something, then like those ones you kind of get like, we sure that's what that mean? Where they go, you get confused. He's saying Mashiach, his existence is simple. He came for the lost tribe of Israel, right? and through him and through us, ultimately, the rest, those that cleave unto him, right?
Mhm.
So he said that's simple. But I'm worried, I'm fearful that you're gonna fall for that same thing. Verse 4 says, for if he that comes preaches another Yeshua, whom we have not preached, or if we receive another Ruach, which we have not received, or another Basora, which we have not accepted, you might well bear with him. I'm gonna stop there because the rest, I mean, it gets really good after this, in my opinion, but because my brother is like a little unchained in this passage.
Yeah,
And
he already prefaces it to let you know,
yeah,
because pretty much what he's saying is, he's saying, I'm Yahuwah and I'm presenting you to Hamashiach. But that's really not what he's saying. He's trying to give you,
I'm a representative.
I'm a representative. It's an analogy so that he could get them to understand how he's feeling. He's trying to explain how he's feeling.
So I'm gonna say this, in the culture that we deal with here in the West, and I don't know if that's a thing, but like, so we know that father gives away the bride.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But the way the Western weddings go, it's like the bridegroom waits on the bride.
Oh, yeah,
right? You
yeah.
get what I'm saying? So it's kind of turned around. So what you got to understand is he's doing this, and when let's say somebody that's a little more advanced in age or whatever, their father passed away, and they need to be given away. Someone can stand in for that.
Right.
A person can stand in and say, who gives this bride away?
Right.
And if the father's gone, there's a stepfather's like, I do. Right. So I think what he's saying is I'm standing in
that gap.
I'm standing in that gap to give the ecclesia, the called out assembly, unto Yahushua Hamashiach. Now, will he be there that day to give us away in that way on the day that he shows up for the wedding? I don't know how that works. I don't think so. I mean, physically he's gone now, right? So maybe he'll be there in spirit, because that's what this is. We're gonna go through it in that manner. Just love that. And then just to tie it up in a nice little tidy little bow, let's go to Revelations 19. And if somebody wants to get 21 and read 1 through 12, I'm gonna go do 19 and start at 6 and go to 10. So I'll be done pretty quick. So go ahead and find your way over to Revelations 21, 1 through 12. So Revelations 19, 6 through 10 says, and I heard as it were the voice of a great multitude, and as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of many thunderings, saying, Hallelujah, for Yahuwah Elohim Sabaoth reigns. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him. For the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his woman has made herself ready. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white. For the fine linen is the righteousness, the sikanu, of the Kodashim, the called out, the saints. And he said unto me, right, blessed, or did I stop? I went too fast. No. And he said unto me, right, blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he said unto me, these are the true words of Elohim. And I fell at his feet to worship him. And he said to me, see you do it not. I am your fellow servant and of your brethren that have the testimony of Yahusha. Worship Elohim, for the testimony of Yahusha is the ruach of prophecy.
So that was one of the brethren.
That was one of the brethren. Somebody got 21, ready to read 1 through 12? I'm trying not to be the only person reading, but I don't mind. I'll read it.
I was gonna say I'll read it, but I didn't want to be the only other person talking either.
I got it. I can do it.
Okay.
Okay.
It's Revelation 21. You said 1 through 12.
1 through 12.
Okay. And I saw a renewed heaven and a renewed earth, for the former heaven and the former earth had passed away, and the sea is no more. And I, Yehukanan, saw the set apart city, renewed Jerusalem, coming down out of the heaven from Yahuwah, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband.
Hey, pause there. Y'all,
Mhm.
that's why this lesson is called the Great Reception, right? So you got to have a venue for your reception. So this is the venue. He described the venue. Keep going.
And I heard a loud voice from the heavens saying, "See, the Sukkah of Yahuwah is with men, and he shall dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Yahuwah himself shall be with them and be their Yahuwah. And Yahuwah shall wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, nor mourning, nor crying, and there shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away." And he who was sitting on the throne said, "See, I make all things new." And he said to me, "Write, for these words are true and trustworthy." And he said to me, "It is done. I am the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end. To the one who thirsts, I shall give of the fountain of the water of life without payment. The one who overcomes shall inherit all of this, and I shall be his Yahuwah, and he shall be my son. But as for the cowardly and untrustworthy and abominable and murderers and those who whore and drug sorcerers and idolaters and all the false, their part is in the lake which burns with fire and sulfur, which is the second death. And one of the seven messengers who held the seven bowls filled with the seven plagues came to me and spoke with me, saying, "Come, I shall show you the bride, the Lamb's wife," or Ashah. And he carried me away in the Ruach to a great and high mountain, and showed me the great city, the Kodesh Yerushalayim, descending out of the heaven from Yahuwah, having the esteem of Yahuwah, and her light was like a most precious stone, like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and having a great and high wall, having 12 gates, and at the 12 gates 12 messengers, and names written on them, which are of the 12 tribes of the children of Yasharal.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. You can keep going if you listen. This is an account of what? The reception. We married. He said he already called us, we are his woman. We are his Isha, right? So we are already married at this point. And all of these descriptions is like saying, this is who was invited, this is who not invited. This is how it looked, this is where it's gonna be at. This is what it's gonna look like. This is described. Look, so give in to this arranged marriage. Is what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna leave it with that. Give in to the arranged marriage, because man, all praises to the Most High for that. Because, like, look, I
All
can't wait to
praises.
get married again to the Most High.
Tony, this was beautiful. I didn't think this is where you were going with this. This is good.
Man, so it connects to what we've been talking about, right? We've been
The love.
the love, and we've been
Yes.
talking about like like what's your truth, you know what I'm saying? And so like when you dealing, because he said he truth is an important part of a relationship with the Most High and his son, right? If you can't be truthful with your brothers and sisters here on earth, like he said, if you can't love your brother and sister, then you ain't got no place in the kingdom with me.
That's deep.
So I'm just trying to make sure, hopefully, that we connected that understanding, like those of us that are married, have been married, want to be married, all those things. You want to look at these examples, right? And if you can't see it in that blueprint of like in creation, he started out like, I'm gonna marry this thing that I'm creating. I'm taking it from this to this, and I'm gonna marry both of these things, and then I'm gonna put them together, and then I'm gonna push the purpose out into the world. And that's the most important thing. The common thread should be the Most High putting the thing together. Because he said the scripture that I had in there was like, let no what Yah has put together, let no man tear asunder, right? So you got to remember that. You got to remember that. You got to remember that. So if you're walking and trying to find love, then that's not what you should be doing. You should be asking the Most High to send me to bring the woman to me, or if you're, if you're the woman that you can be brought, like, because the scripture, I love how the scripture said, man, the lamb's woman, she's ready. What does that mean when you're ready? Says she's adorned in white, she's pure, without a spot of blemish, and the only way you get that is being cleansed by that blood. So get stained by the blood and give in to this arranged marriage, because if you're trying to find something else, you'll find something else, but it ain't gonna last. Because only what you do for Yahushua HaMashiach will last.